Chapter 1225. Her mother is too cute on the other side. Qingyuan had already finished talking to the shopkeeper of the medicinal shop. He had also hired some people to be in charge of communicating with the farmers, to buy medicine, plant medicine, concoct medicinal herbs, and run the pharmacy. Before he went to the capital, he had to make arrangements clearly. After settling the business matters, Yundong and Qingyuan went to the county city. Wenjing had already left and returned to the capital. There was still a teacher in the school who continued to educate Shu and the others. Yundong and Lu Wei went to the Lu residence. When Lu Wei saw them, he rushed forward excitedly and said, "Let me tell you something." Seeing how mysterious he was, Yundong could not help but roll her eyes. "Tell me, Peng Zhongfei's wife has been sent to a temple outside the city to cultivate for half a year." Yundong was surprised. "You mean Madame Yao? Why?" Lu Wei had a look of "you're pretending to be innocent" on his face. "Isn't it all because of you?" Yundong frowned. "Because of her?" The last time she interacted with Madame Yao was on the day of her wedding. As expected, Lu Wei couldn't wait to speak. "On the day of your wedding, did that Madame Yao go to look for you? She even threatened you?" Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. "Madame Yao wouldn't have threatened you? Why didn't he know about this?" Yundong waved her hand. "It's all right. She's just talking. She doesn't dare to respond to my words." As she spoke, she asked Lu Wei, "Who said that she threatened me?" "Oh, your mother." Yundong. "That's right. Other than her and Madame Yao, Madame Yang was also in the room. Although her mother was ignorant, she could see clearly and knew that Madame Yao's gaze and tone were not good back then. She might not understand the meaning of Madame Yao's words, but she could remember her words and tell others in detail. At that time, Madame Yao did not take Madame Yang seriously at all. Who knew that she would fall into her hands? After Madame Yang sent Yundong off to get married, she was listless. It was only when she saw Madame Yao hurriedly find Peng Zhongfei and was about to leave the Gu family that she suddenly remembered Madame Yao's hostile expression towards Yundong in the new room. She rushed over, looking like she wanted to settle scores with Madame Yao. Peng Zhongfei happened to be nearby and instantly heard most of Madame Yang's words. He was so angry that he was about to explode. All right, he knew he shouldn't have brought Madame Yao out of the door. This incompetent woman only knew how to drag him down. It was one thing to offend Yundong once, but she actually wanted to find trouble with her on her wedding day. Was she tired of living? Peng Zhongfei did not flare up on the spot. After returning home, he started to settle scores with Madame Yao. Lu Wei laughed. "We didn't know about this at first, but concubine Xiao of the Peng family was so eager to see the world in chaos that she exposed it. Now we all know, ha ha." The corners of Yundong's mouth twitched. She had not done anything yet. Madame Yao was courting death. Her mother had never mentioned this to her. Her mother was really too cute. Yundong suddenly wanted to go back and see Madame Yang. So after telling the Lu family that she was going to the capital in a few days, she and Qingyuan could not wait to return to Yongfu village. They were leaving in a few days. She wanted to go back and spend time with her family. The carriage stopped at the entrance of the Gu residence. Yundong had just alighted from the carriage when she suddenly heard a sound coming from inside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1226. Xiaoxi's way out. Yundong was shocked. He exchanged glances with Qingyuan and hurried in. The voice beside her ear started to become clearer. It was Xiaoxi's voice. The scholar was so angry that he fell back on the spot. He pointed at the woman and said, "You're simply twisting logic. I want to talk to you again. A good man doesn't fight with a woman." After saying that, the scholar hurriedly wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, the woman stretched out her leg. The scholar wasn't careful and tripped on the spot. He fell and was stunned. His face turned red and he cried. "Ha ha 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 ha." A burst of laughter rang out. Yundong had already walked to the door of the central room and could see the situation inside clearly. Her uncle stood in the middle of the central room and was telling his story vividly. He was beaming with joy and his hands and feet were waving. As for Chang Yaya, Madame Yang, eldest aunt, Bianhan, Gu Dajiang, little Kiki, and the others, they surrounded him and applauded. Gu Yundong turned her head helplessly and looked at Shao Qingyuan. I thought something had happened. Gu Dajiang faced the door and was the first to see them. He quickly called them in. You're back? Did everything go smoothly? Everything went well. Gu Yundong walked in and sat beside Madame Yang, holding her hand. Madame Yang was stunned for a moment before she grabbed her hand and smiled until her eyes narrowed. Gu Yundong asked, "What are you doing?" "Your uncle is telling a story," Chang Yaya said. Today, when the baby moved, he started talking to the child. As he talked, it became storytelling. She did not expect things to develop like this. Initially, she was the only one listening. Later, the entire family came to listen, and all of them listened with relish. It made her not know whether to laugh or cry. Gu Yundong was surprised. Uncle is so good. Gu Xiaoxi chuckled. On the other hand, Chang Yaya said with a speechless expression, "You don't know this, but ever since he heard a story in the prefectural city, he fell in love with it. The few times he went to the county city and passed by the tea house, he would stop and stand outside to listen. Once, he was so engrossed in listening that he almost missed the time when the city gate closed." Gu Yundong really did not know about this. She did not expect her uncle to like this. Shao Qingyuan, who was standing behind her, suddenly said, "If little uncle is interested, you can go to the tea house to be a storyteller." When I heard little uncle tell the story just now, it was actually not inferior to those storytellers. Shao Qingyuan was right. When Gu Xiaoxi told the story, he was simply engrossed in it. His tone was cadenced, and it sounded very picturesque. Of course, he was slightly inferior to the experienced storytellers in the prefectural city, but he was as good as the tea house storytellers in the county city. The only thing he was lacking in was probably his lack of confidence. Gu Xiaoxi was only so open in front of his family. If they were in a tea house, he would probably feel restrained and uncomfortable. Furthermore, there would occasionally be unexpected situations in the tea house, and Gu Xiaoxi didn't have the ability to deal with them. But these could be trained. When Gu Xiaoxi heard that he was going to be a storyteller, he immediately waved his hand and shook his head. No. With my lousy skills, I can only tell stories to my child. How can I have the ability to go to a tea house to tell stories? I don't want to ruin other people's business when the time comes. No. He'll just farm a home." He didn't dare. He was timid. Usually, even if he wanted to listen to stories, he would stand at the door and listen. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1227. Just do it, however. Gu Yundong's eyes lit up when she heard that. Sure, it's rare for younger uncle to like something. Why can't he give it a try? Although being a storyteller can't compare to doing business by himself or focusing on craftsmanship, he could get a basic salary. Occasionally, if the story is good, he can even be rewarded when he meets generous customers. Most importantly, little uncle liked it. "Uncle, you're not confident now, but you'll be fine after training for a while. Moreover, you can read and speak loudly. Look, everyone surrounded you just now and was attracted by you. This means that you're very good, right?" The others nodded repeatedly. Kiki clapped until her hands turned red. It's great. It's just slightly worse than my elder sister's. It's better than everybody else's." The young lady liked it the most when her elder sister told her bedtime stories in the past. She still remembered it now. In the future, when a younger brother in her aunt's stomach was born, she would tell him. Gu Dajiang agreed. It's indeed not bad. It's already very impressive to be able to memorize everything after hearing it once. Chang Yaya also thought it was a good idea. And every time you tell a story, your eyes shine. It was especially charming. Gu Xiaoxi felt a little embarrassed. Is it really that good? Gu Yundong nodded. Yes. If you're worried that you won't be able to speak in front of those guests, you can find a place to experiment first. She lowered her eyes and thought for a while. Suddenly, she clapped her hands. How about this? We could try in our village first. Uncle knows almost all the villagers in Yongfu village. When the time comes, we can organize everyone to go to the grain-sunning field in the evening. Tell everyone a story. Tell them what you heard in the county city. Anyway, it's free. Everyone will definitely like to hear it. Shao Qingyuan also said the weather isn't too cold now, and everyone is willing to go out. Uncle shouldn't be afraid in front of people he knows, right? Xiaoxi thought for a moment. Then, there's really nothing to be afraid of. He was even eager to give it a try. Dafeng stood up. Let's go and find the village chief now. We'll start tonight. Xiaoxi let out a huh. Then, he was pulled away by Dafeng. The people in the room looked at each other and then laughed. Yaya was actually quite happy. Although she felt that Xiaoxi's farming was quite good, he was too tired. Every day, she would watch him return home after a day of work, but the results were average. Her heart ached. In particular, Xiaoxi's sister and brother's lives were getting better and better. This was actually quite stimulating. He also wanted to work hard to catch up. He didn't want to drag them down. He also wanted to live a good life for his unborn child. However, he did not want to completely rely on eldest sister and second brother. He wanted to rely on his own ability. However, no matter how he thought about it, he only knew how to farm. These days, Yaya would sometimes see him reveal a very confused expression. Now that he had found a job that he liked, that was the most gratifying thing for her. Not long after, Dafeng returned. Xiaoxi's face was filled with excitement. The village chief has agreed. He is very supportive. He said that everyone is living a good life now. Some people have nothing to do at night and start to quarrel with others. Recently, the village chief has gone to several families to stop the fight. He's exhausted. Now that they can listen to books, these people can finally stop. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 12:28. Success. Everyone laughed when they heard that. In the evening, the drying field was indeed filled with people. Most of them brought stools over, and some even brought food. It looked even more lively than a banquet. All of them were extremely excited. I've never heard a storyteller telling a story before. This time, I finally have a chance to listen. That's right. When I went to the county previously, I was extremely curious when I saw the customers in the tea house cheering. However, I didn't have money in my pocket and didn't dare to enter. I didn't even dare to get close. I want to listen to it once. That feeling. TSK. It's very beautiful. It's just that tea is too expensive. I could only hide outside and listen. When Yundong arrived, there were almost no seats left. Fortunately, she was Xiaoxi's family and had special privileges. The seats in the front row had already been reserved for them. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan quickly walked through the crowd to the front. As soon as they sat down, Xiaoxi walked up with an excited and uneasy expression. Yundong clenched her fists and cheered him on. When Xiaoxi saw this, he instantly felt confident. He swept his gaze across the crowd below. Very good. They were all familiar faces. He was not afraid anymore. There was already a table in front of him. Xiaoxi imitated the storyteller in the tea house and slammed the wooden tablet. The buzzing crowd instantly quietened down. Everyone's gaze was focused on Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi was inexperienced and did not know anything about opening lines. When everyone looked at him, he went straight to the point. In the distant sea, there was a girl called Xiao. Xiao had been well protected since he was young. Her family was harmonious, and her parents doted on her. Until one day, as Yundong listened, she felt that something was wrong. This story sounded familiar. She looked at Kiki, who was sitting in Dajiang's arms and listening with interest. She carried the little girl over. The little girl's body suddenly rose into the air. She was stunned and quickly turned her head. Seeing that her big sister was carrying her, she was immediately relieved. Yundong held her small hand and asked in a low voice, "Did you tell this story to Uncle?" The little girl nodded. That's right. Yundong could not help but pinch her little face and shake her head in laughter. This was the bedtime story she told the little girl. It was almost a big adaptation of the mermaid's tale. It was mainly because Kiki was a glutton and she looked obedient and pleasant. Yundong was worried that the little girl would be tricked by others with just a little food, so she deliberately made up a story to tell her not to be easily deceived by strangers. She did not expect her uncle to tell such a story today. Actually, this was also good. Now that the conditions in Yongfu village were good, Countless people outside wanted to marry the girls in the village. It would be fine if they only liked the girls because of the good conditions, but those people who had ill intentions and directly schemed against other people's assets would use despicable methods to deceive the girls. That would be terrible. Xiaoyu's story was about how Xiaoyu was ignorant of the world and was deceived by a superficial person. In the end, she did not listen to her parents and insisted on being with that person. Not only did she get herself killed, but she also lost her family. The story was a little tragic, but it inexplicably resonated with many people. After Gu Xiaoxi finished speaking, the crowd lingered for a long time. Everyone was busy criticizing the inhumane scum in the story. No one noticed that there were one or two girls in the crowd who lowered their heads slightly, looking a little guilty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1229. Departure to the capital later. Yundong heard that a young man from another village had secretly interacted with a girl from Yongfu village. That girl was almost deceived by that young man. After listening to Gu Xiaoxi's story that night, the young lady went back and thought for a long time before telling her parents. The girl's parents immediately got someone to inquire about the young man's family. Only then did they know that not only was the young man's family poor, but his parents were also sluggards. He had 2 brothers and a sister-in-law at home. All the work was done by that sister-in-law. When the young man's family heard that the girls in Yongfu village were all rich, they tidied up the young man and let him seduce the girl. After marrying her, the girl's family would be able to support the young man's family. When a young lady heard this, she was almost scared silly. No wonder the young man refused to explain the situation at home or let his parents come over to propose marriage. He only kept coaxing her. The young lady was tricked until she could not find her bearings and was almost done. Gu Yundong sighed when she heard that. Shun Liang even came to look for Gu Xiaoxi and asked her to tell everybody a few more such stories to warn the villagers. He especially told everyone that there was no such thing as a pie falling from the sky. Gu Xiaoxi immediately became nervous when this mission came. He could tell stories, but he couldn't write stories. He went to look for Gu Dajiang. Gu Dajiang was passionate about writing, but what he wrote was too serious. Furthermore, they were all major matters related to the country. They were far from the scope of a story. In the end, Gu Yundong rubbed her face and helped Gu Xiaoxi write a few adapted stories. However, she wasn't a professional either. It was just that she had seen a lot of things. It was fine if she made up a few, but she couldn't do too many. Hence, she suggested to Gu Xiaoxi, "Uncle, you can actually observe the things around you more and change what really happened around everyone. If you magnify the good or bad aspects, it will be a fascinating story." Gu Xiaoxi was deep in thought. To Gu Yundong's surprise, the next day, Gu Xiaoxi came over with 2 stories. Gu Yundong took a look. Wasn't this what had happened to Gu Xiaoxi and Qingyuan? They had been adapted and divided into 2 separate stories. But one was a story about a wife who loved a young master from a rich family and wanted to climb up the social ladder by framing her man. The other was a woman who had no one to rely on. She was deceived by a friend with ill intentions and was almost killed. This was their personal experience. Gu Yundong could not help but look at Gu Xiaoxi. The latter scratched his head. "I've discussed it with Yaya. We think it's okay. As long as you think it's okay." Perhaps because he had experienced it personally, Gu Xiaoxi was especially engrossed in telling these 2 stories. The response from the villagers that day was simply enthusiastic. Gu Xiaoxi became more and more enthusiastic about storytelling. Not only that, but he also collected the events around him and edited them into storybooks. 5 days later, Gu Yundong brought Gu Xiaoxi to Jinxiu restaurant in the county. The Jinxiu restaurant did not have a storyteller, but it was fine to add one at the last minute. Anyway, Gu Xiaoxi was there to train his courage. It was free. After that, Gu Yundong did not care anymore. She and Shao Qingyuan finally decided to set off to the capital to find his background. This time, the 2 of them traveled light. Gu Yundong brought Tong Shuitao, while Shao Qingyuan brought Shaowen. The 4 of them bade farewell to the Gu family and quickly left Yongfu village. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1230. 3 days to arrive. Yundong returned to the prefectural city first. Shuang bought a shop in the capital and was about to open it. They still had to discuss some details. On the prefecture magistrate side, it had been exactly half a year since the vaccination. Qingyuan had to bring the bill and the number of people who had participated in the vaccination to the capital. He also had to report the situation in the Shuana Prefecture. There was also the shop in the prefecture capital. There was no problem with Gus. The shopkeepers and waiters were all familiar with it. If they encountered any difficulties, it would be easy to find someone to help. As for the milk tea shop, she had arranged for 2 female employees. Lan Huar had just been diagnosed with pregnancy not long ago, so Yundong let her rest at home. After giving birth, it was up to them to decide if she wanted to continue working. Su Qing and Zhuangzi were also married. Not long after they got married, the 2 of them were very happy. The 2 of them did not have to worry. With Madame Dai and Ye Shuang around, they would not suffer any grievances. Yundong went back after taking a look. After giving instructions in the prefectural city, the 4 of them left the Shuana Prefecture. To go to the capital, they had to pass through Wanqing Prefecture first. Coincidentally, Yundong had not been to Wanqing Prefecture since she came back last year. She did not know how Uncle Ye's grocery store was doing. Although they had exchanged letters previously, they could not say too much. There were 4 people on 1 carriage and 2 horses. If the carriage was not comfortable, they could ride horses. It was quite comfortable. Yundong sat in the carriage and ate. She leaned half of her body against Shao, Qingyuan, and looked at the scenery outside the window. When she fled to the Shuana Prefecture, this place was still desolate. Now it was completely different. The new emperor had indeed done many things when he ascended the throne. "Miss, there's a river over there. Let's rest here and eat something." Tong Shuetao's voice came from outside. Yundong sat up straight and her body stiffened. Shao Qingyuan held her back and rubbed it hard. "Are you feeling better?" Yundong nodded and stretched her back. "You really can't slack off. If you become lazy, you won't be able to sit in the carriage for a few days. All the bones in your body seem to be stiff." She got out of the carriage and took a deep breath. She instantly felt refreshed. Tong Shuetao had already taken a small pot from the back of the carriage to get water. Shao was also picking firewood nearby. Yundong looked around. "Where are we now? How long until we reach Wanqing Prefecture?" Shao Qingyan tied her sleeve and replied, "At this speed, we will reach Wanqing Prefecture in about 3 days." "That's good. The carriage makes me uncomfortable all over." Shao Qingyuan smiled and said, "We'll set off later on horseback. When we reach Wanqing Prefecture, we can take a boat to the capital. It's faster to travel by water, and it'll be more comfortable to take a big ship." That was true. At the very least, she would not be stiffened. If she wanted to stand up, she could only get out of the carriage. As she spoke, Tong Shuetao had already taken out the ingredients and was preparing to set up the small stove. "Miss, do we still have any hot sauce? I think we finished the jar from before." "Yes, I'll go get it." Yundong quickly turned around and entered the carriage. She looked through it and found out that they actually finished the few jars she had brought along. She had made this spicy sauce. It was filled with oil, and it was especially fragrant with porridge and rice. The 4 of them would open 1 jar every few days to eat. Now that the last bottle was gone, she could only take out 2 bottles from her space. Just as she was about to take them down, she suddenly heard a commotion. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1231. Something missing. Yundong was stunned. She was still in the carriage, but she had already lifted the curtain and looked out. Then she realized that a convoy was walking over. They stopped not far away. It seemed that they were also planning to rest. Shao Qingyuan, who was outside the carriage, also looked at the convoy. It looked like a caravan transporting goods. There were 6 carriages in the entire convoy. The carriages were filled with large boxes and sacks. She did not know what they were. There were a total of 14 to 15 people, all of whom were tall, and strong men. They also saw Shao Qingyuan and the others. Seeing their clothes, they could roughly guess that the newly married couple was on a long trip. The leader came over to greet Shao Qingyuan. "Little brother, we're a caravan transporting goods to Qingyuan Prefecture. We're here to rest for a while. It's rare for us to be fated." "Little brother, where are you going?" "To Wanqing Prefecture." "What a coincidence. We came from Wanqing Prefecture. This place is not far from Wanqing Prefecture. Where did you come from?" Shao Qingyuan felt that this person was a little annoying. Why did he ask so many questions? Everyone should just keep a distance from each other and not disturb each other. Couldn't they just go their separate ways after eating? Therefore, he only said coldly, "We're going to have lunch." When the leader saw this, he understood and did not ask further. He returned to his convoy. Someone immediately surrounded him and asked, "Boss, what's his background?" He said that he's going to Wanqing Prefecture. He's not willing to say anything else. The leader waved his hand. "Forget it. It's fine if he doesn't want to talk. Let's not interact much. Be vigilant and leave after eating." "All right, they'll go get water." The two parties did their own things and did not disturb each other. It was just the convoy was eating dry rations and pancakes with water, and Yundong's team was eating hot pot. Yes, hot pot. Before they came, Yundong had stir-fried the base of the hot pot. Now that the water was boiled, the hot pot base melted with a little water. They had also bought some meat and vegetables from the county city they had passed last night. Now that everybody was hot and cooked, it was directly covered in hot sauce. It was simply delicious. The rich taste of the hot pot made the convoy swallow their saliva. Looking at the dry rations in their hands, they could not eat anymore. Are these people really on a trip? They're not here for an outing? The leader also felt that they were here for an outing. Who would go on a long trip with such things? Yundong and the other three did not think so. Firstly, they were not in a hurry. Secondly, it was especially uncomfortable to stay in the carriage all day. It was rare for them to stop to rest and eat. Of course, they treated themselves to the best extent that they could. Besides, she and Shao Qingyuan had just gotten married. This trip was their honeymoon. Of course, she couldn't mistreat herself and leave behind regrets. Therefore, when she suddenly mentioned that she wanted to eat hot pot last night, the four of them immediately started to buy ingredients and prepared them. The people on the convoy side became even more disoriented. They sniffed hard, regretting stopping at this place to suffer such a critical hit. After Yundong finished eating, she poured a glass of water in satisfaction and slowly drank it. Then, she watched comfortably as Shao Qingyuan put out the fire and brought her some fruits from the carriage. However, just as she finished half a glass of water and ate 2 dates, a loud cry suddenly came from the convoy. "It's gone. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1232. That person jumped up and run Yundong, and the others subconsciously looked at the convoy. Everyone in the convoy stood up and looked nervously at the person who had spoken. "What's missing?" That person looked anxious. "Half of the big bag of steam buns I bought last night is gone. Also, my 2 clothes are gone, and the water in the container is gone." The people in the convoy were stunned. That's all. Could you have forgotten where you left them? Did you eat the steamed buns yourself?" That person panicked. "I didn't. They're really missing. I originally planned to eat them tonight. I still have pancakes. Why would I eat steamed buns? This time, I brought 2 sets of clothes for changing. Now, I'm wearing 1 set. The remaining set is gone, and the jacket I used to sleep with is also gone." The others looked at each other. The leader frowned. They shouldn't have disappeared for no reason. "Everyone, look around and see if they're mixed up elsewhere." He couldn't have met a thief, right? Which thief would be so stupid as to steal food, drinks, and clothes instead of these valuable goods? The leader waved his hand, and the others immediately moved. However, just as they started looking on the first carriage, a person suddenly jumped out from behind the last carriage and ran into the forest in front without looking back. It was probably too sudden. The people in the convoy were stunned. The next moment, they heard the man who had lost something shout, "Hey, my clothes. He's wearing my jacket." As soon as he finished speaking, the man quickly chased after him. The others ran forward one after another. The leader frowned and shouted, "Just 2 people will chase after them. The rest of you, stay here on guard." The people who were running forward suddenly realized that there were still several carriages of their goods here. How could they all leave? They returned to the convoy and saw the steamed buns that fell beside the last carriage. They squatted down and picked them up one by one. Was that guy a beggar who came from somewhere? He hadn't eaten for a few days, so he came to our convoy to steal some food? Looking at the current situation, that seemed to be the case, but the leader was cautious. He instructed the few of them, "See if there's anything wrong with the goods. We'll see if they catch up to them." Yes. The others began to check. Not far away, Yundong and Qingyuan looked at each other and quietly continued walking by the river to digest their food. There seemed to be nothing else missing from the convoy. After a while, the 2 pursuers returned. However, they were the only ones who returned. The leader asked, "You didn't catch up?" "We followed him to the river on the other side of the forest. There's a bamboo raft parked on the shore. That person ran far away with a bamboo pole. We couldn't catch up." "Boss, are we missing anything?" "No." The leader frowned. "There are only 2 pieces of your clothes missing." The man who had lost his clothes sighed with a frown. However, it was a good thing that the goods weren't missing. However, the leader felt that it was not appropriate to complicate matters, so he called for everyone to stop resting and leave quickly. They didn't speak to Qingyuan and the others anymore. They hurriedly packed up, and the convoy quickly left. The lively lakeside instantly fell silent. Tong Shuitao went to Yundong's side. "Miss, what do you think happened just now?" "I don't know. Anyway, it's none of our business. We'll leave later too. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1233. It's actually an acquaintance. Tong Shuitao and Shao washed the pots and bowls and placed them in the carriage. Yundong had eaten too much just now. After walking for a while, she felt much better. Just as she was about to get into the carriage and leave, a person suddenly rushed out of the forest. Yundong and the others were stunned. Wasn't this the person who had escaped just now? His clothes were exactly the same as the person who had escaped just now. Didn't they say that he had left on the bamboo raft? Why was he back? Yundong and Qingyuan looked at each other. That person also saw them and was shocked. He hurriedly turned and ran to the side. However, after running a few steps, he suddenly stopped and widened his eyes at Yundong. Miss Gu." Yundong was surprised. This person knew her. Judging from her voice, she was a woman. That person quickly ran up to them. Yundong frowned and looked at her messy hair and dirty face. This woman did look familiar. She paused and suddenly had an idea. "Miss Duan." "Yes, it's me." As if she had met her family, Duan burst into tears. Yundong suddenly did not know what to do. She quickly handed her a handkerchief. "You don't cry yet. What happened? Why didn't you stay in Wanqing Prefecture? Why did you come here? Where's your elder brother? How did you end up like this?" At first, Yundong's impression of Duan was average. She was a rather proud young lady who would always be superior to others. It was difficult to talk to her. However, later on, she seemed to be sensible. After knowing that Yundong was not to be trifled with, she immediately restrained the thorns on her body and kept quiet. However, Duan's elder brother, Qian, was a very capable and decisive businessman. After the Xian residence was destroyed, Qian quickly gathered all the businesses that could be inherited in the Xian residence. The Duan family became a large family in the Wanqing residence. Last year, when she left Wanqing Prefecture, she had even asked Qian to help take care of her grocery store. Why was Duan in such a state now? Qian had always doted on his sister. She shouldn't be in such dire straits, right? "Lady Gu," just as Duan was about to speak, a sound came from the forest again. Someone walked over. "Be careful. That girl must be hiding nearby. Don't miss her." "Damn it, this girl really knows how to escape. Don't let me catch her, or it'll teach her a lesson." The voice was getting closer and closer. Duan's face instantly turned pale. She hid behind Yundong, and the hand that was holding her sleeve trembled violently. Lady Gu, help me. Although Gu Yundong did not know what had happened, for Duan Qian's sake, she would not leave Duan Wan alone. Glancing at the forest, Gu Yundong grabbed Duan Wan's hand and pushed her onto the carriage. Go up and hide first. Don't make a sound. Okay. Duan Wan swallowed her saliva and hurriedly shrank into the carriage. Gu Yundong had just lowered the curtain when the 5 people in the forest came out. These people were obviously martial arts practitioners. One of them frowned slightly when he saw Gu Yundong and the others. He went forward and asked, "Who are you? Did you see a 15 or 16-year-old girl?" Qingyuan and Shao took 2 steps forward and blocked the way. "We didn't see any." The 5 of them looked at each other, and their gazes landed on the carriage behind them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1234. Search the carriage. You didn't see her? I saw that girl running over just now. Don't tell me you hid her in the carriage. Let me tell you, that girl is an imperial criminal. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. If a stranger heard this, they would definitely weigh the pros and cons in their hearts. They might really hand Duan Wan over. Unfortunately, Gu Yundong knew Duan Wan. How could she easily believe their words? Moreover, looking at them, their fierce tone made them seem more like the imperial court's criminals. Qingyuan's gaze was cold. I don't know who the imperial court is, and we didn't see any girls. You can leave. Leave? That won't do. I clearly saw that girl running this way. This area is empty. Only your carriage can hide people. How about this? Let us search. If there's no one, we'll leave immediately. How about that? Qingyuan sneered. It doesn't sound good. I'm not willing. Hey, brother, aren't you asking for it? You have to think about it. There are 5 of us, and you only have 2 men. You even have to protect the 2 women. It's not a good idea to go against us. As they spoke, the 5 of them approached Shao, Qingyuan, and Shaowen. Qingyuan knew that these people would not listen to him if he spoke nicely, so he started to roll up his sleeves. However, before he made his move, he turned around and said to Gu Yundong, who was behind him, "Rest first. Your stomach feels uncomfortable after eating too much just now. It's best not to act too vigorously." Gu Yundong was speechless. You're the one who ate too much. Your whole family ate too much. Bah! It seemed like he was the only one in his family. But Gu Yundong still nodded and stood in front of the carriage. When the 5 of them saw this, they were instantly enraged. You guys are quite arrogant. Don't beg for mercy later. Go! The few of them instantly surrounded him. Qingyuan didn't care, but Shaowen clenched his fists and was eager to try. Although he had learned martial arts, he usually went deep into the mountains to fight with those wild beasts and animals. Then, he fought with Shao Wu and the others. He really did not have the chance to encounter such people who came to find trouble for him to practice. The bodyguard from the escort agency had taught him. Although these people were martial arts practitioners, it was obvious that their lower bodies were unstable and their footsteps were unsteady. They had yet to catch a woman. They looked unreliable. Therefore, even if Shaowen thought that his skills were average, he would definitely have no problem dealing with them. Therefore, as soon as those people rushed up, Shaowen went up to them. 3 people immediately surrounded Qingyuan. The 3 of them held knives and sticks in their hands and attacked him without saying a word. Duan Wan, who was hiding in the carriage, looked at the scene outside through the gap in the curtain and instantly held her breath. She asked Gu Yundong, who was standing beside the carriage, in a trembling voice, Will it be okay? It's fine. Just stay inside and don't make a sound. Okay. As soon as she finished speaking, Qingyuan kicked the first person who approached. Then, he turned around and avoided the second knife in his hand. He raised his hand and slashed at the back of the enemy's neck, knocking him to the ground. The third person hit the back of his head with a stick. Qingyuan seemed to have eyes behind him. He tilted his body slightly. After dodging, he turned around and grabbed the stick in his hand. He pulled it forward fiercely. The next moment, his left hand formed a fist and hit his stomach heavily. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them fell to the ground. On Shao Wen's side, He had already knocked down one person and started to deal with the second person. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1235. Who will deal with who? Tong Shuitao was a little disappointed. She had thought that these people would be able to break through the defense of her master's husband and Shao Wan, run to her, and be sent flying with a kick. It was a pity that these people were too useless. She shook her head regretfully and restrained her urge while standing beside her lady. Gu Yundong glanced at her from the corner of her eye, and the corners of her mouth twitched. Who did Tong Shuitao take after when she had such a violent personality? Tong Ping and Madame Jiang were clearly gentle. Shao Qingyuan looked down at the 5 people who had been beaten down. Do you still want to search our carriage now? Xiaowen also squatted on the ground and reached out to tug at the collar of one of them. That's right. Do you still want to search the carriage now? I don't think you're looking for anyone at all. You clearly think that we're easy to bully because we have few people. You want to take advantage of us. No. The 5 of them were no longer as arrogant as before. They begged the 2 of them repeatedly. We're really looking for her. We saw her run this way with our own eyes, so why didn't I see anything? I only saw the few of you running this way. You came to find trouble with us the moment you arrived. Our mood to eat and enjoy the outing has been ruined by you. No, Shaowen did not give them a chance to refute and hit his head. You're still denying it. I was wrong. Big brother, I was wrong. We were blind and didn't recognize you. We didn't know what was good for us and spoke nonsense. Let's go. We want Dare to do it again. Only then did Xiaowen stop. He stood up and walked to Shao Qingyuan's side. Young master, how should we deal with them? Shao Qingyuan frowned and looked at Gu Yundong. Gu Yundong glanced at them and said, since they are on the imperial court's order, we can't make things difficult for them. If they admit their mistake, forget it. There won't be a next time. It's getting late. We still have to hurry to Qingyuan Prefecture. If we're any later, we won't be able to make it to our inn. Qingyuan Prefecture? They were clearly going to Wanqing Prefecture. Tong Shuitao was a little puzzled, but when she saw Miss Gaze, she immediately understood. Shao Qingyuan and Xiaowen also nodded. Xiaowen patted the man's head again. Open your eyes wider next time. You're lucky. Gu Yundong was helped into the carriage by Tong Shuitao. Shao Qingyuan and Xiaowen sat on the shaft of the carriage. The carriage turned around and headed in the direction where the convoy had left. After riding far away, Shao Qingyuan changed directions and began to travel on the main road of Wanqing Prefecture. Gu Yundong finally focused her attention on Duan Wan. Only then did she realize that Duan Wan's original dress was very thin. No wonder she had stolen the jacket from the convoy. She did not look good either. Gu Yundong frowned and suddenly reached out to touch her forehead. As expected, it was a little hot. Duan Wan relaxed and became confused. She leaned against the wall of the car weakly. Gu Yundong brought a pill over. Shao Qingyuan had made it. Eat this first. Thank you. Duan Wan trusted her, so she stuffed it into her mouth without saying anything. Then, she took the water bottle from Tong Shuitao's hand and gulped down the medicine. Unexpectedly, after drinking the water, her stomach started rumbling. Duan Wan's face turned red as she buried her head between her knees. Gu Yundong sighed and took out some pastries from the cabinet. There was still a boiled egg in the cabinet that had been left from the morning. Now, she stuffed it into her hands. Come, let's eat something first. We'll talk after we're done. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1236. Duan Qian, missing Duan, Wan could not help but cry again. She held the egg and pastry and did not move for a long time. After a while, she looked up and said, "Thank you. Eat first." Duan Wan lowered her head and immediately wolfed down the food. Gu Yundong frowned. She looked like she had not eaten for a long time and wished she could swallow everything in one breath. She was like a different person from the arrogant Miss Duan Gu Yundong had seen last time. Duan Wan finally finished eating and wiped her mouth with her sleeve. She really could not care less about her image. Gu Yundong handed the kettle over. Slow down. Be careful not to choke. Why are you in such a sorry state? You haven't eaten for a few days, right? I haven't eaten for 2 days. Duan finished drinking the water, then lowered her head and said in a low voice, "After leaving Wanqing Prefecture, I hid everywhere." Her tears fell again, and she wiped them with all her might and continued. "After that, I followed a caravan that went to Qingyuan Prefecture and hid in the box of their carriage. I was afraid that they would find out, so I didn't dare to make a sound. But I was too hungry and smelled the fragrance, so I couldn't help but take the steamed buns from their caravan to eat. In the end, I was discovered the moment I took a bite. I left the steamed buns and ran away." Previously, she had only been drinking water and did not have much strength in her body. When she was being chased, she ran purely on instinct. Her legs were actually very weak. She had no choice. If they caught up to her, she might lose her life. Now that she was sitting in the carriage, she felt that her legs were trembling. Yundong and Tong Shuitao looked at each other and touched their noses silently. Duan smelled a very fragrant smell. Could it be the hot pot that they made? Yundong coughed lightly and asked, "Why did you leave Wanqing Prefecture? Where's your brother?" Duan pursed her lips. After a while, she choked and said, "He's missing." "What did you say?" Yundong was stunned. "Missing? Why did Qian disappear?" Duan sniffled. "Brother went to Qingyuan Prefecture 2 months ago and said that he had a business deal to discuss, but he didn't come back. Half a month ago, the servant boy who was with brother came back and reported that brother suddenly disappeared. He searched the entire Qingyuan Prefecture but couldn't find him. I don't know where he went." Yundong frowned. "Qingyuan Prefecture? Is that why you followed the Qingyuan Prefecture's convoy and left home to find your brother?" She guessed, and then shook her head. "No, if that was the case, there was no reason for someone to hunt her down." Sure enough, Duan shook her head. "I didn't want to find my brother, but I also knew that I didn't have the ability, so I wanted to find someone to help me. But before I could find someone to help me, I got into trouble. Someone wanted to harm you." Duan nodded and instantly gritted her teeth. "It's my second uncle. When he saw that my brother was missing, he told everyone that my brother was dead. The managers who followed my brother didn't believe him and insisted on waiting for him to return. However, second uncle suddenly made things difficult for them. Who knew that second aunt would attack me at this time?" Yundong sighed inwardly. It was easy for problems to arise with a large family business. As expected, Qian had the entire Duan family in his hands at a young age. Naturally, there were people who were dissatisfied. It was fine if he was supervising the Duan family, but once something happened, these people would jump out and cause trouble. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1237. Duan's decision. Duan took a deep breath. Second aunt drugged me when I wasn't paying attention. She wanted me to have a good relationship with old Master Zheng in the city. Old Master Zheng is already in his 30s and has many wives and concubines in the family. If I marry into the Zheng family, I will fall into a fire pit. Fortunately, a servant girl by second aunt's side once received my brother's help and was grateful to him, so she secretly told my maids. Unfortunately, the message was sent too late. By the time Duan's maids knew about this, Duan had already been drugged. Her 2 maidservants were loyal. One of them stalled for time, while the other carried her out of the Duan family. Tong Shuitao asked, "What about your maidservant?" Duan shook her head. "I don't know. Someone was chasing us. I don't know if they're second uncle's men or the Zheng family's men. In order to let me escape, Zhilan used herself as bait to lure them away." Now, Yundong patted her. "So, when you saw the convoy going to Qingyuan Prefecture, you might as well follow them and see if you could find Qian?" Duan nodded. Yundong lowered her eyes and thought for a moment. It was impossible for her to change direction and go to Qingyuan Prefecture now. Putting aside the fact that most of the people who were investigating Duan had gone to Qingyuan Prefecture to look for her, just Qian's disappearance was very strange. It was not wise for her to go over rashly. Hence, she said to Duan, "We're going to Wanqing Prefecture now. If you trust me, follow us there. Your brother is a capable person. It's impossible for him to disappear for no reason." You might not be able to find him even if you go to Qingyuan Prefecture. You might even put yourself in danger. Of course, if you insist, I won't stop you. When we reach the next town, they'll help you find a reliable and suitable escort agency to bring you to Qingyuan Prefecture. Duan raised her head, her eyes filled with confusion. She did not know if she would go to Qingyuan Prefecture. Duan had also been on a long trip, and she had even been to the capital. However, that was all under the protection of her eldest brother, with maidservants and guards by her side. She did not have to worry about anything when she went out and only had to eat and drink. This was the first and only time she left Wanqing Prefecture alone. In just 3 days, it felt like 3 years had passed. There were a few times when she felt like she was going to die and would never see her brother again. If not for the fact that she did not believe that something had happened to her brother, she might have collapsed long ago. Now, Duan's head was getting heavier. She looked at Yundong and recalled what her eldest brother had said. After a while, she finally said in a low voice, "I will return to Wanqing Prefecture and wait for Big Brother's news." "Okay, we'll take you back." Duan forced out a smile and let out a sigh of relief, finally collapsing. Yundong took a pillow for her as a cushion. Seeing her half-closed eyes, she said softly, "Go to sleep." "Thank you." Duan closed her eyes and soon fell asleep. Yundong took off her jacket and covered her with a blanket. Then, she sat at the side and pondered. When Duan woke up again, the carriage had already entered a county under Wanqing Prefecture. Yundong turned her head and glanced at her. "You're awake? Your fever is almost gone, but you probably don't have much strength left in your body. After dinner at the inn, take your medicine again and sleep tomorrow. You'll be fine." Duan nodded and looked at the scenery outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1238. I owed the Emperor in my past life. She had been to this county city before. The previous convoy had stopped here. However, Duan was too busy hiding at that time, so she naturally didn't have the mood to look outside. Now that she looked at it again, she realized that this county city was also very lively. The carriage stopped in front of an inn. Duan got off the carriage with Tong Shuetao's help. Her legs were still weak, but she was much better. The 5 of them reserved 3 rooms. Yundong let Duan and Tong Shuetao stay together. Duan did not feel safe now, so it was better to have someone by her side. The few of them ate dinner in the room. In the afternoon, everyone had hot pot. At night, they cleared their stomachs and ate porridge. It was just a bowl of ordinary pumpkin porridge in a small county, but to Duan, who had not eaten a mouthful of hot porridge for 2 days, it was like a delicacy in the world. After swallowing it, the warm feeling surged up in her throat, making her tears fall at once. After dinner, Duan went to rest. Yundong lay on the bed and moved to a more comfortable position in Qingyuan's arms. She then asked, "What do you think about Duan Qian's disappearance?" Qingyuan kissed the corner of her mouth and said in a low voice, "You said that although Duan Qian is young, he's very scheming. His whereabouts are unknown after making a trip to the Qingyuan Prefecture. It really doesn't make sense. He can't just bring a servant with him." Yundong nodded. "I think so too. He's so young to be in charge of the Duan family. How can he not have anyone protecting him? But Duan's matter is quite strange." Yundong was stunned. "What's strange?" With Duan Qian missing, Second Master Duan couldn't wait to take over. Actually, it was wise for him to persuade Duan to stand on his side and subdue those managers together. However, he couldn't wait to marry Duan off. At this juncture, he's very patient. Yundong paused for a moment and immediately nodded. "That's right. Moreover, he married Duan to a 30-year-old master of the Zheng family who is far less wealthy than the Duan family. If word gets out, the Duan family's reputation will be completely ruined. Second Master Duan and his wife will also be criticized. It's indeed very strange." Qingyuan saw that she was frowning from thinking so much and couldn't help but smile. He pinched her chin and said, "No matter what the reason is, since we're going to Wanqing Prefecture, I don't think we can get away from this." Not to mention how much Duan Qian took care of our provision store previously. Just the Duan family was selected by you and Master Mo to take over the Xian Prefecture and become a big family in Wanqing Prefecture. We can't avoid it. If Wanqing Prefecture fell into the hands of second Master Duan, with his ability, the entire merchant economy of Wanqing Prefecture might be in chaos. This was not a good thing for the current emperor. Although the current emperor did not want the Duan family to dominate alone, it was clearly not the time yet. At the very least, the Duan family was promoted by his people. The Duan family was loyal to the current emperor and could very actively cooperate with the current policies. If someone else dominated Wanqing Prefecture now, it would be a huge headache for the emperor. Yundong also thought of this and immediately wailed. Why do I feel that I owed the emperor in my previous life? They had clearly never met, but how many things had Yundong done for him, both openly and secretly? The problem was that there was no reward. Just thinking about it made her feel indignant, uncomfortable, unhappy, and wanted to explode. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1239. Yundong is really capable. Shao. Qingyuan laughed and hugged her tightly. He turned around and pressed her down. Didn't you say that everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the country? He's a good emperor now. He's a wise ruler. Isn't that a good thing for small fries like us? If there's a new emperor, the sugar business won't be able to be preserved. It's too hard for me. I'm here, Shao Qingyuan said as he slowly bent down and kissed her. Yundong moaned softly. Soon, only small sounds could be heard in the room. The next day, when the two of them walked out of the room again, they found that Duan had already come out. She looked much more energetic, and her fever had completely subsided. She changed her clothes. It was Tong Shui's house. Yundong wanted to buy her a set of clothes. Although she had clothes, she had grown taller in the past 2 years and was now a little taller than Duan. Her clothes were too big for Duan. Tong Shui's clothes were just right, but the fabric was definitely not as good as Duan's. This girl had always been comfortable and neat, so she wore her clothes comfortably. Unexpectedly, Duan rejected the proposal to buy new clothes. She felt that this was good. She did not want to attract attention. Although Yundong told her that there were no pursuers behind her, Duan still felt that she should keep a low profile as much as possible. Yundong was very gratified to hear that. As expected, this girl had learned from her mistakes. After experiencing such an escape, the once arrogant eldest miss had become much more mature. Since that was the case, Yundong did not force her. The group continued on their way and left the county. However, their speed was still unhurried. Occasionally, they would stop to eat something delicious. It looked like an outing. Duan was originally very anxious, but during such a journey, she actually slowly calmed down. Yes, so what if she was anxious? What was the use of being anxious? What could she do when she returned? She couldn't even show her face. How could she take revenge and settle scores with second uncle and second aunt? After calming down, Duan began to think about these questions that she had never thought about carefully. However, as she thought about it, she could not find an answer. Her entire person went from confusion to contemplation to confusion. She could not find a lead at all. Finally, the night before the carriage entered Wanqing Prefecture, Duan took a deep breath and knocked on Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's door. Yundong was surprised to see her. Shao Qingyuan poured a glass of warm water for the two of them without a word. He helped Yundong put on a cloak and said, "It's cold in the morning and evening now. Put on a cloak and don't catch a cold." Then, he let Duan and Yundong chat slowly while he opened the door and went out to talk to Xiaowen. Duan stood in the room and stared at Shao Qingyuan the entire time. She only snapped out of her daze when Yundong knocked on the table after she left. Yundong narrowed her eyes slightly. She knew that her man was very charming, but this girl could not stare at him so openly, right? And in front of her. However, Duan smiled and said, "In the past, Big Brother told me that Miss Gu is so young, but she has the ability to take down that eye-catching shop in the Xian residence. Either Miss Gu has a powerful backer, or Miss Gu is very capable. My big brother said that you're the latter, but I've always been unconvinced and felt that you have a powerful backer. Gu Yundong blinked. Is it really okay to say such things in front of me? Unexpectedly, Duan took a deep breath and said again, now, I think Big Brother is right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1240. Gu Yundong's reminder. What made you change your mind? Because I saved you? Gu Yundong asked. However, Duan shook her head. No, I changed my mind when I saw how considerate and thoughtful your husband was to you just now. Gu Yundong, is it always so novel when you change your mind? Did this girl think that she was capable just because she saw that brother Shao was good to her? Come. Explain clearly. Which aspect of capability are you referring to? Duan did not see her expression. She took a sip of tea and said, now, I feel that running to you for help without hesitation might have been the best thing I did. Gu Yundong laughed dryly and drank some tea. So, why are you looking for me now? Speaking of this, Duan suddenly became nervous. She held the teacup and poured herself another cup of water. She raised her head and drank it. Then, she looked at her firmly and said, I want to ask you what I should do after returning to Wanqing Prefecture. What to do? Gu Yundong did not expect her to ask this. What do you want to do? Duan lowered her head. I don't know. I realize now that I don't have any skills. I can't find my brother, and I can't take revenge on my second uncle and second aunt. Gu Yundong frowned. Have you ever thought of finding the whereabouts of your two maids first? Duan was stunned. Find the whereabouts of the two maids? But I can't enter the Duan residence. Of course, she had thought about it. Zhilan and Huilan were loyal to her. If they were fine, they would most likely be locked up in the Duan manor. But how could she enter the Duan manor alone? Gu Yundong rubbed her forehead. All right, she could not expect a girl who had always been pampered and did not need to use her brain to think about these things. Forget it. They'll just treat it as returning Duan Qian's favor. Gu Yundong could only remind her, you can't enter the Duan mansion, but the people from the Duan mansion can always come out. For example, the maidservant who reported to you previously. That maidservant. She usually serves in the mansion and doesn't come out often. Duan hesitated. She always felt that the way Ms. Gu looked at her just now was as if she was looking at someone retarded. But she wasn't wrong. Gu Yundong secretly clenched her fists and put on a smile. She said, did you tell me that your brother's managers are loyal to him? Duan nodded and met Gu Yundong's gaze. She suddenly had a flash of inspiration and reacted belatedly. You're saying that I can ask these managers for help? Let them send a letter to that maidservant or other maidservants in the residence who are loyal to me, and then tell me the whereabouts of Zhilan, Huilan, and the others? She was finally worthy of being taught. Gu Yundong nodded and took a sip of tea. That's right. As for how those managers operated, there were many ways. Although they were working outside, they definitely had connections in the residence, and they were very strong. Not to mention anything else. It was just a matter of convenience for the kitchen staff to pass on a message, or for these servants in the outer courtyard to pass the message to a certain maidservant or old woman in the inner courtyard. In the entire Duan family, she believed that there were definitely more people loyal to Duan Qian than to Second Master Duan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1241. Recent news of Wanqing Prefecture. Duan slowly understood what Gu Yundong meant. She gradually became confident. Yes, although Big Brother was not around, the people he left behind were all around. If she secretly contacted them, she would be able to find Zhilan and Huilan's whereabouts first. Eldest brother was right. Lady Gu was indeed a capable person. Duan's eyes lit up. She grabbed Gu Yundong's hand. Then what should I do next? Gu Yundong almost spilled the water in her cup. The corners of her mouth twitched. After a while, she said, well, no, later. We haven't arrived at Wanqing Prefecture and don't know the situation inside. It's useless to say anything now. We have to analyze the specific situation. Duan nodded repeatedly. Yes, you're right. Yundong exhaled. Then go back tonight and think about who is the most trustworthy person in charge. Duan understood and said seriously, Okay, they'll think about it carefully. Thank you, Yundong. With that, she stood up. They'll go back first. Have a good rest. As soon as she finished speaking, she had already opened the door and left. Yundong drank the warm water in one gulp. Qingyuan pushed open the door and entered. Are you done? Yes. Yundong sighed and shook his head. Women are really fickle. One moment, she called me Miss Gu, and then she called me Yundong affectionately. They were clearly not that close. Qingyuan glanced at her. You're a woman too. Yundong, you really have no desire to live. Go to bed early. Well, enter the city tomorrow. The next morning, the five of them set off again. Perhaps because she had a goal, Duan looked energetic today, as if she was full of fighting spirit. However, when she thought about how she was about to reach Wanqing Prefecture, she took a deep breath and tried her best to lower her head to avoid attracting attention. Yundong smiled and exchanged glances with Qingyuan. As they approached Wanqing Prefecture, the roadside became more prosperous. Duan did not dare to lift the curtains and look outside again, afraid that others would accidentally recognize her. The carriage only entered Wanqing Prefecture in the afternoon. Yundong was quite familiar with Wanqing Prefecture, so she found an inn to stay in. She asked Shao when to drive the carriage past the entrance of the Gus store and peeked inside. She didn't see Eugene, Old Master Yu, and the others, but she saw Boss Zhang greeting the guests. There didn't seem to be anything unusual. Yundong put down the curtains, and the carriage drove all the way to the inn. After they reserved rooms, Duan said to Yundong impatiently, There's a manager surnamed Lin. He's the person my brother trusts the most. Previously, my brother saved Uncle Lin's life, so he's the most loyal to my brother. Yundong nodded. Write a letter. He'll get Shao to send it to Uncle Lin tomorrow. Duan was stunned. Shao, what is it? I'm thinking that since Uncle Lin is loyal to my brother, my second uncle will definitely send people to keep an eye on him. When the time comes, won't Shao be exposed? Yundong smiled. Don't worry. Shao has a way. Who would give the letter to him openly? Duan was stunned. Is that so? What she imagined was to give it openly. However, Duan heaved a sigh of relief when Yundong agreed to help. After resting for a night, Yundong went to the tea house the next day to inquire about the latest news in Wanqing Prefecture. Apart from Duan Qian's disappearance, there was another piece of news that was being discussed fervently. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1242. Scheming Duan Qian's disappearance should have been kept a secret, but Second Master Duan's actions were too big, causing the people who had been staring at the Duan family to quickly realize that something was wrong and expose the matter. However, the Duan family's matters were other people's matters. To the commoners, they were just gossiping and it had nothing to do with them. However, there was another piece of news that was closely related to them. There was a new general in Wanqing Prefecture. It was said that he was a swift and decisive person. The moment he arrived, he accomplished a few major things and confiscated several families. Even someone whose official position was second only to the general was arrested. It caused the entire prefectural city to be in a state of panic, especially those who had a guilty conscience. They were even more timid and did not dare to make a fuss. Yundong could not help but be stunned when she heard the news. She remembered that the Xian family had colluded with the prefecture magistrate of the Wanqing Prefecture. Later on, the prefecture magistrate was also punished. After that, the emperor sent a new prefecture magistrate. The new prefecture magistrate was a tactful person. It was unknown if he was trying to smooth things over or if he was doing it on purpose. In short, his performance after taking office was mediocre and he had never done anything. Now that she thought about it, it was most likely done on purpose by the emperor. At that time, the Xian family and the prefecture magistrate had been beheaded and caused such a huge commotion. The entire Wanqing Prefecture had suffered a huge loss. If they continued to use harsh methods to deal with those who deserve to be dealt with, the development of the Wanqing Prefecture would plummet. It had to be known that the Yundong Prefecture had just experienced a disaster not long ago. After the Qingyuan Prefecture's disaster ended, the Shuana Prefecture and Wanqing Prefecture were also affected. The emperor had just ascended the throne less than a year ago and had even implemented several initiatives. Therefore, he really did not have the energy and time to deal with these unimportant characters. However, now that the emperor was free, he immediately sent a decisive general, who caught those people who thought they were safe and started to cause trouble unprepared. The man cleaned up the entire officialdom of Wanqing Prefecture. It seemed that the prefecture magistrate, who had always performed averagely, had not just been eating and waiting for death in the past year. Yundong sighed in her heart. As expected, the current emperor was really a scheming man. She asked Duan, "Have you heard of General Dou?" Duan shook her head. "I only know that a new general came more than a month ago, but I don't know anything else." Ever since her brother left Wanqing Prefecture, Duan had hardly left the house, so her knowledge was very limited. More than a month ago? In such a short period of time? Duan nodded. "Yes, why? I'm fine. I just think that this general is really impressive." Yundong took a sip of tea. At this moment, they were sitting in a corner of the most lively tea house in the prefectural city. Their clothes were inconspicuous, and Duan was sitting in the darkest corner with her head lowered. Suddenly, Duan heard a voice. The person's words made Duan tense up. "Have you heard? Second Master Duan from the Duan residence went to the general residence yesterday to visit this general. Do you think Second Master Duan knew Lord Dou in the past, and the two of them are friends?" "Really? Are Second Master Duan and Lord Dou friends?" It was my brother who said it. Yesterday, he personally saw Second Master Duan leave the general's residence, and he was even personally sent out by young Master Dou. The two of them seem to be chatting happily. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1243, Two Different Opinions. Wow, he actually got young Master Dou to personally send him out. That meant that they were most likely on good terms. Duan clenched her fists as she listened. She looked at Yundong in a panic. "Yundong, what should we do? If second uncle knows General Dou and has General Dou as his backer, can we defeat him? Can my brother still be found?" Yundong patted her hand. "Calm down. The matter is still unclear. We can't judge based on hearsay." Duan was very flustered, but she forced herself to calm down. She bit her lower lip hard and nodded. Yundong saw that she still looked uneasy and knew that she would not be able to calm down for a while. She simply stood up and said, "Let's go back to the inn first. We won't get any useful information here." Duan subconsciously got up and followed behind Yundong. The group returned to the inn. Duan followed behind Yundong. Seeing this, Yundong could only say, "Shao has already taken your letter to your Uncle Lin. If everything goes well, your Uncle Lin will definitely investigate the whereabouts of your two maidservants after receiving the letter. The first thing we have to do now is to bring your maidservants out safely. There's no hurry for anything else. We have to take it one step at a time. It's useless for you to think too much." Duan finally listened. She took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right. It's just hearsay outside. Even if my second uncle knows General Dou, as long as my brother comes back, he will definitely have a way to deal with him." Hearing this, Duan calmed down. Before Shao returned, the few of them had lunch first. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan went downstairs to eat in the lobby, while Duan and Tong Shuitao stayed in the room. Just like the tea house, most of the things in the lobby of the inn were about General Dou. However, there was also news about Second Master Duan. However, it was different from what they had heard in the tea house. "Have you heard? The Duan family is going to marry the general's family." "What? Are you serious?" "Of course it's true. Yesterday, Second Master Duan even personally went to the general residence to discuss the marriage between the two families. It was young Master Dou who personally sent Second Master Duan out. That respectful attitude was clearly someone's attitude towards his future father-in-law. Wow, what's going to happen if the Duan family and the general's family get married? The Duan family is already the richest family in Wanqing Prefecture. If they have a general backing them, won't they be able to do whatever they want in Wanqing Prefecture? Do you think this Duan family will become the second Xian family? Shoo, do you want to die? How can you say such things? However, if Second Master Duan really marries General Do, the Duan family will really fall into the Second Master Duan's hands. That's not necessarily true. The Duan family's eldest young master is just missing. He might come back one day. He's very powerful. Second Master Duan might not be able to defeat him. General Do looks like a good official who is impartial and makes decisions for the people. How can he snatch the Duan family's eldest young master's assets just because he has a marriage alliance with Second Master Duan? The politics are very complicated. It's hard to say who he's helping. Yundong and Qingyuan looked at each other. Unexpectedly, when they looked up, they saw Shao when walking in. The two of them immediately stood up and called out to Shao. The three of them went upstairs together. As soon as they entered the room, Duan looked at Shao anxiously and asked expectantly, "How did it go? Did you give the letter to Uncle Lin? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1244. Another bad news, however. Shao shook his head and took out the letter. "No." Duan's expression froze, and she looked at him in shock. "You didn't see Uncle Lin?" Shao sighed, and his expression was a little ugly. "I've seen him, but the Uncle Lin you mentioned might not be loyal to your brother. He should have already submitted to Second Master Duan." Duan's expression changed drastically, and she fell onto the chair. How? Yundong frowned. This was bad news. The situation was very unfavorable for Duan. However, Duan suddenly raised her head and looked at Shao. "Are you sure that Uncle Lin has joined my second uncle? Are you sure?" Shao nodded. "I deliberately pretended to be a customer and went to his shop to buy things. I originally wanted to take the opportunity to secretly give the letter to him. I didn't expect to see a woman walk out of the backyard of his shop. He talked to her before she left. At that time, I was close and vaguely heard the woman say the word second. I became suspicious, so I didn't give the letter to Uncle Lin for the time being. After the woman left, I followed her. Later, I saw her enter a restaurant and stand behind the Duan family's second madam. Shao used to be a beggar, so he was very sensitive in this aspect. He was especially good at reading people's expressions. At that time, he felt that the relationship between Uncle Lin and that woman was unusual. Although there was no physical contact, the two of them gave off a very ambiguous feeling when they stood together. Uncle Lin looked at the woman affectionately. After hearing everything, Duan's expression changed, but she still asked in disbelief, "What does that woman look like?" After Shao described it, Duan's expression became even worse. "That's my second aunt's housekeeper. A few years ago, her husband passed away and she has been alone since. She's some of my second aunt trusts." Now that he said that, what else could he not understand? Uncle Lin had probably been turned by second aunt Duan's honey trap. The woman was indeed good-looking, and judging from her age, she was only in her early 20s. She was in her prime. Duan gritted her teeth, her heart filled with hatred. However, Yundong was very calm. "We've also analyzed this matter. Since your second uncle dares to cause trouble at this time, he must have something to rely on. It's not like he was completely unprepared. Since Uncle Lin can't be trusted, let's change to another person. It can't be that all the managers have been instigated to defect." Duan nodded vigorously. Yes, not everyone is as ungrateful as Uncle Lin. She could not panic. It did not matter. She was not alone now. She was no longer alone like a few days ago. She had Yundong and her husband by her side. They were so powerful, so what was there to be afraid of? Look, hadn't Uncle Lin been found out? Duan took a deep breath and thought about it again. This time, she was much more cautious. She no longer made her own judgment. She only told them about the manager's daily behavior and his brother's evaluation. She asked Yundong and the others to help find out who was most trustworthy. In the end, Yundong and Qingyuan chose a person who did not seem particularly outstanding or loyal to Duan. They asked Duan to write a new letter and send it over. Duan hesitated, wondering why they chose this person. However, she couldn't figure out herself, so she simply listened to smart people. Therefore, she carefully wrote a letter and handed it back to Xiaowen. Xiaowen made another trip. When he returned, it was already 2 hours later. This time, he did not bring the letter back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1245. Meeting Uncle Yu. Next, let's wait for the news. Duan exhaled and nodded. However, the news came faster than she thought. The next morning, Xiaowen brought back news about shopkeeper Luo. Shopkeeper Luo asked them to meet at Anhui Restaurant, which was a street not far from here. Yundong and the others tidied up, leaving Tong Shuitao and Shao to wait at the inn. The three of them headed to Anhui Restaurant. They left early and arrived at the restaurant before lunch. Qingyuan specially looked around the restaurant before going to the private room on the second floor. They chose a good spot. When they opened the window, they could see the people coming in from the entrance. Duan was a little nervous and got up several times to see if shopkeeper Luo had arrived. It was not until noon that shopkeeper Luo appeared at the door in a low-key manner. Shopkeeper Luo was not eye-catching to begin with. When he was expressionless, he looked very unlikable. No wonder Duan said that shopkeeper Luo was not very popular and Duan Qian would not hand over many important things to him. It was not that he did not trust him, but shopkeeper Luo's expression was as if someone owed him millions of taels of silver. It was very easy for such a person to fail when he went out to discuss business with others. Therefore, shopkeeper Luo was suitable for staying in the rear. Shopkeeper Luo came in. When he saw Yundong and Qingyuan, he was slightly stunned. However, the next moment, he saw Duan's slightly excited eyes and walked up to her in a few steps. Eldest Mississippi, Uncle Luo. Duan stood up, not knowing what to do. Shopkeeper Luo waved his hand and let her sit. Then he asked, They're my friends. Thanks to them, they saved me. Shopkeeper Luo immediately thanked Qingyuan and Yundong. Yundong waved her hand. There's no need to thank us. You guys continue chatting. We'll go out first. Duan looked at them nervously, but Yundong still went out. There were some things that Duan had to face personally. She could not help her sort everything out. Shopkeeper Luo sighed in his heart. Eldest Miss was lucky to have met a benefactor who helped her. After they left, shopkeeper Luo said, I already know everything. Eldest Mississippi, I'm sorry. We didn't consider it carefully. I didn't expect Second Master to actually attack you. Fortunately, Eldest Miss came back safely. Eldest Miss, don't worry. Eldest Young Master will definitely be fine. We'll wait for him to come back. Duan's nose was a little sore. She hummed heavily. I also believe that my brother will come back. Shopkeeper Luo said, As for what Eldest Miss said in the letter about Jilan and Huilan, I've already asked someone last night. They're both in the Duan manor now, but what? Duan asked anxiously. Shopkeeper Luo sighed. It's just that both of them are injured. I heard from maids in the residence that Second Madam beat them up on the grounds that they lost Eldest Miss, and she didn't let the doctor treat them. They're running a high fever, and their condition isn't good. Duan suddenly stood up and clenched her fists tightly. This old woman. Eldest Miss, calm down first. Since Second Madam didn't kill or sell them, she's probably waiting for Eldest Miss to fall into her trap. We have to consider this matter at length so that we don't fall into Second Madam's trap. Duan gritted her teeth and sat back down. Yundong and Qingyuan, who were outside the door, had already gone downstairs. The two of them chose a seat facing the door and sat down. Unexpectedly, just as she was about to order, she saw Uncle Yu enter. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1246. Uncle Yes Second Spring. Yundong looked at Uncle Yu in surprise. She had wanted to raise her hand to greet him. Unexpectedly, there was another person following behind Yu Yanghong. It was a woman who looked to be in her 30s. She followed Yu Yanghong's footsteps. Yu Yanghong did not see Gu Yundong. He quickly found a table next to them and sat down. Gu Yundong turned her head curiously. Yu Yanghong's back was facing him. The woman sat beside him and poured him water eagerly. Gu Yundong raised his eyebrows. What was going on? Was Uncle Yu going to develop a second relationship? Just as she was thinking about it, she heard Yu Yanghong's impatient voice. If you have something to say, say it. I still have a lot of things to do in my shop. I'm very busy. I know that Brother Yu is busy, but no matter how busy you have to rest, right? Otherwise, how can your body take it? Besides, isn't Boss Zhang working in the shop? Why does he need you, the boss, to do it yourself? The woman covered her mouth and laughed. She glanced at Yu Yanghong shyly. Yu Yanghong couldn't help but shiver. He said seriously, I've already said that I'm not the boss. The boss of the provision store is someone else. Our family works for someone. At most, we're half a shopkeeper. The woman laughed. Brother Yu, you're doing it again. If it's not your shop, why can you make all the decisions? If you're not the owner, why would your family of 3 work in the shop all day long? Which boss was so blind? It was fine if they hired Yu Yanghong and Eugene, but they even wanted someone as old as Grandpa Yu? Who were they lying to? Yu Yanghong had a headache. He had explained many times, but this person just didn't believe him. But he could not casually tell outsiders about Gu Yundong. He was really impatient and decided not to dwell on this matter. He said directly, Previously, you said that someone had designs on our shop, so I followed you out. You should tell me what happened first. The woman smiled and said, Why are you in such a hurry? We haven't ordered the dishes and haven't eaten yet. We haven't even spoken much. Yu Yanghong frowned. Then order the dishes first. He suppressed the frustration in his heart and called for the waiter to serve the dishes first. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan, who were at the table beside them, saw this scene and spoke softly. Someone has designs on our shop? Who's so shameless? Do you think what she said is true? Shao Qingyuan thought for a moment and said, Previously, Duan Qian protected the provision store. Now that Duan Qian is missing, it's indeed possible that someone took advantage of that and wanted to take over the provision store. Didn't you say that the location of the shop was good? There were many people coming and going, and business was booming? Gu Yundong pursed her lips. In that case, it was fortunate that they had arrived in time. She glanced at the woman again. Look at this person's eyes. Does she have any feelings for Uncle? Shao Qingyuan glanced over and happened to see the woman blinking at Yu Yanghong with a lustful expression. He quickly turned his head and looked at his wife's face to wash his eyes. Then, he nodded affirmatively. Most likely. As soon as he finished speaking, the dishes at Yu Yanghong's table were served. He spoke again, Can you say it now? The woman took a bite and sighed in satisfaction. You still say that you're not the boss. It's not cheap to eat here. If you're half a shopkeeper, how can you bear to spend this money? Yu Yanghong couldn't take it anymore. You said you want to try this restaurant's signature fish, so I came. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1247. Second Master Duan comes to the store. The woman's face instantly turned red. So you care so much about my words. I said I wanted to come, so you brought me here. Yu Yanghong, Gu Yundong, and Shao Qingyuan were speechless. However, the woman continued. Brother Yu, actually I also think that you're a good person. Look, your wife has been gone for a few years and I'm alone. Why don't we make do with each other? This way, your shop will be my shop. Whoever has designs on your shop will make things difficult for me. I'll definitely tell you who that person is. Gu Yundong was amazed. Were there still such open-minded women in this day and age? Yu Yanghong was also stunned. He looked in disbelief at the woman in front of him whose eyes were emitting light. His body trembled violently. He had thought that this woman might want to get some benefits from him, such as a meal at Anhuai restaurant or asking him to give her some money. However, he did not expect this person to have such thoughts. How is this possible? Yu Yanghong's expression changed, and he flatly refused. That's impossible. I still have to observe mourning for my mother for 3 years. Gu Yundong held her forehead. This reason was very ordinary. As expected, the woman did not care at all. Isn't it full in less than a year? We could be engaged first. I'm not in a hurry. I already said that the shop isn't mine. Why are you still lying to me? Don't worry, I won't covet your shop. I know that your shop will be left to your son in the future. I just want to take good care of you because you've worked hard. There are only 3 men in your family. It's inconvenient without a woman to manage it. Yundong regretted coming out with her. He felt that he might have been tricked. Seeing that he was speechless, the woman immediately threw him another coquettish look. Don't worry, after we're married, we'll definitely take good care of the entire family. We're both to be married for the 2nd time, so those betrothal gifts and dowry don't need to be much. A little something is enough. As for me, Yundong's forehead was covered in sweat when he heard this. He felt that if he didn't stop her, this woman would probably have even planned to give birth. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't think of a suitable reason. Seeing that she was getting more and more exaggerated, he blurted out in a moment of desperation, I don't like you. The entire world fell silent. Yundong almost choked. Qingyuan hurriedly patted her back. Calm down. Uncle Yu is good. Yundong held back her laughter and gave him a thumbs up. Qingyuan raised his chin. He's done for. As expected, after a moment of silence, the woman suddenly stood up. She pointed at Yundong and said, All right, you're good. You're really good. You don't like me, right? Then wait for your shop to be demolished. You old fart. Do you really think you're so handsome? Do you think you're so great just because you have money? After saying that, she turned around and left. After taking a few steps, she came back unwillingly. She glanced at the dishes on the table and sat down to eat resentfully. Yundong and the other 2 were speechless. When the woman was almost done eating, she stood up fiercely, splashed the tea on the table on Yundong's face, and strode away. Yundong looked at Yundong, who had a black face and was in a sorry state, and sighed. It was at this moment that the eldest son of the Zhang family ran into the restaurant, panting and looking very flustered. Yundong, something bad has happened. The Duan family's 2nd Master Duan has brought young Master Do to our shop. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1248. Go to the provision store. Yundong's expression suddenly changed. He suddenly stood up and hurriedly followed the eldest son of the Zhang family. Before eldest brother Zhang left, he turned around in surprise and looked in Yundong's direction. However, before he could see clearly, he was pulled away by Yundong. Yundong and Qingyuan also stood up and frowned at the same time. Let's go to the shop. 2nd Master Duan brought young Master Do. That young Master Do from the general residence? Yundong recalled what the woman had said just now. Someone had designs on the provision store. Could it be 2nd Master Duan? She was so angry. 2nd Master Duan's family matters were still in a mess, but he had already started to reach out to other places. However, just as the 2 of them were about to leave the restaurant, Yundong suddenly stopped. She thought of Duan Wan, who was still talking to shopkeeper Luo upstairs. She frowned and said, You go first. They'll bring Duan Wan back to the inn before going over. All right, be careful. Qingyuan nodded. Don't worry. With me around, no one can have any ideas about the provision store. Yes, I know. Only then did Qingyuan turn and leave the restaurant. Yundong slowly exhaled and walked towards the stairs. Coincidentally, when he reached the staircase, the door of the private room was opened and shopkeeper Luo walked out. When he saw Yundong, he nodded slightly and said, I'll leave Eldest miss to you. With that, he lowered his head and left expressionlessly. Yundong walked into the private room and saw Duan Wan sitting alone at the table. She had not looked too good. It seemed like shopkeeper Luo had brought bad news. Duan Wan raised her head. When she saw her, she strode towards her. Yundong, Uncle Luo said that Jilan and Huilan are not in good condition. My 2nd aunt beat them half to death, and they are still locked up in the house with a fever. If we don't save them now, they will die. Just as she finished speaking, she saw Yundong's dark expression. She was shocked. What's wrong? Did she think that her matters were too troublesome and did not want to care about her? Yundong shook her head. It's fine. Let's go. They'll bring you back to the inn first. Bring? Duan was a little puzzled. Only then did she feel that something was wrong. All right, where was Shao Qingyuan? Why was he gone? Duan opened her mouth, but did not dare to ask or say anything. She just followed Yundong out of the restaurant. Yundong's footsteps were very fast, and Duan had to jog to catch up. When they returned to the inn, she panted and asked softly, Yundong, did something happen to you? Yes, something happened in my provision store. Brother Shao went to deal with it first. I have to go too. Rest at the inn first. He'll get Shueitao to accompany you. Something happened to the provision store? What is it? I can help. Duan stopped mid-sentence. That's right. She couldn't even protect herself now. What ability did she have to help others? It was already good enough that she wasn't a burden. She took a deep breath slowly and said, All right, he'll stay in the inn. Go ahead. Yundong nodded and instructed Tong Shueitao before leaving with Shaowen. Duan blamed herself. Shao Qingyuan went to the shop first, but Yundong specially waited at the restaurant to send her back before leaving. She was worried about her. She had to think of a way to rescue Zhilan and Huilan. She could not trouble them anymore. Duan sat in the room and looked down, deep in thought. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1249. This is a shady shop. Tong Shueitao, who was at the side, was very anxious. She also wanted to follow, but Miss Duan could not be left alone. She did not know if Shao Qingyuan had arrived in time to resolve the matter in the shop. Shao Qingyuan, who was being nagged about, had already followed Yang Hong and Boss Zhang to the door of the shop. There were 4 people standing in the shop. Eugene, Old Master Yu, Second Master Duan, and a young man in luxurious clothes with his back facing Shao Qingyuan, who should be young Master Do. There were still some people watching outside the shop. Shao Qingyuan vaguely saw that the woman who wanted to have a second relationship with Uncle Yu was also there. There was a middle-aged man beside her, frowning and looking very frustrated. Shao Qingyuan walked over and heard the man say softly, Why is Second Master Duan here? The woman sighed. Not only did he come, but he also brought young Master Do along. Looks like the rumors are true. Second Master Duan and the Do family really have a deep relationship. However, if that's the case, I'm afraid you won't be able to have any ideas about this provision store. It's all your fault. You can't even handle an old man. The woman was furious. If it weren't for the fact that there were people around, she would have jumped up and scolded him. Shao Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the person the woman was talking about was not Second Master Duan. He glanced at the middle-aged man and looked into the provision store before the other party turned around. At this moment, Second Master Duan was nitpicking. I've already said that this grocery store is a scam. Just because it's the only grocery store in this area that has everything, it sells especially expensive things. The neighbors nearby have long suffered. Eugene sneered. Second Master Duan, don't lie through your teeth. The things in our provision store have always been priced fairly. How are they expensive? Besides, if our shop was a scam, the government would have sent people to close it long ago. Why would they allow us to open it for so long? Second Master Duan chuckled. Who doesn't know that you have dealings with Wu Tongfeng, the Imperial Court's criminal? Previously, Wu Tongfeng was a secondary general. With his support, who would dare to close your shop? Now that Wu Tongfeng has fallen, I think your days of tyranny are over. This Wu Tongfeng was the secondary general that General Do had personally pulled down. Now, he was locked in the prison and waiting for the Imperial Court to deal with him. At this juncture, anyone who had anything to do with him would be finished. Uncle Yu was so angry that his body was trembling. Nonsense, nonsense. Young Master Do, you have to be clear-sighted. We have nothing to do with Wu Tongfeng at all. He only came to the shop to buy things twice. Could it be that everyone in the Prefecture capital who has done his business is related to him? Second Master Duan said, What do you mean by coming to your shop to buy things twice? Wu Tongfeng has servants and maidservants in his family. Why does he need to personally come to the grocery store to buy things? Who would believe this? Uncle Yu and Boss Zhang were also furious. However, how could they know what Wu Tongfeng was thinking? How could they guess why he would come personally to buy things? Second Master Duan hurriedly turned around and said proudly, "Young Master Do, you heard it. They can't find any evidence to prove that they have nothing to do with the Imperial Court's criminal. Young Master Do were innocent." The three members of the Yu family hurriedly shouted out their grievances. The surrounding commoners outside the door were all whispering. The shopkeepers and workers in the nearby shops were already familiar with the Yu family. They knew that they were honest and dutiful, so they naturally believed him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1250. In their boss, however, there were also people who couldn't bear to see others doing well and were jealous of the Yu family's business. They couldn't wait to add insult to injury. On the other hand, young Master Do did not speak. He raised his eyes and carefully sized up the entire shop. After a while, he turned around and looked at the three members of the Yu family. Shao Qingyuan was stunned when he saw young Master Do's face. This young Master Do, had he seen him somewhere before? He looked familiar, but Shao Qingyuan was very sure that he did not know anyone with the surname Do. After young Master Do sized up the three members of the Yu family, he suddenly looked in the direction behind them. His eyes lit up, and he strode over. "White sugar? You sell white sugar here too?" Before the three members of the Yu family could answer, Second Master Duan anxiously complained, "That's right. In the entire Wanqing Prefecture, only our Duan family can obtain some goods from the capital, and it's especially rare. Those people actually have such ability in a small provision store. If not for Wu Tongfeng backing them, who would dare to sell it? Young Master Do, you must interrogate the three of them properly. Perhaps they have accomplices." Eugene was so angry that he almost fell backward. "This white sugar was given by our boss. It's just a little. It's usually sold in limited quantities. The eldest young master of the Duan family knows this very well. Don't spout nonsense here and label us as accomplices of the criminal." Second Master Duan said, "Who in the entire prefectural city doesn't know that the eldest young master of our Duan family has gone missing? Are you trying to throw the crime back to our Duan family just because there's no evidence?" Second Master Duan knew that Duan Qian had dealings with this provision store. It was precisely because he knew that he had taken advantage of the Do family's influence when Duan Qian was not around to find trouble and steal this shop. Unfortunately, Second Master Duan did not know much. He did not know how this shop fell into the hands of the Yu family. He only knew that Duan Qian was a step too late and did not buy this shop. Then, he gave up. In his opinion, Duan Qian cared too much about his reputation. So what if the shop was in the hands of the Yu family? Wouldn't it still belong to the Duan family if he used some tricks? For that bit of face, he had even given up his interests. Or perhaps it was because Duan Qian had some secret dealings with the Yu family. So not only did he not find trouble with them, he even protected them. But no matter what, Second Master Duan had to get this shop today. As he thought about it, he looked at young Master Do. However, young Master Do was interested in the boss mentioned by the three of them. "You said that the white sugar were given by your boss. Who is your boss? Where is he now?" Eugene and the other two looked at each other hesitantly. If they revealed Gu Yundong's identity, would General Do cause trouble for her? Seeing that they were silent, Second Master Duan became even happier. "Young Master Do, as you can see, they can't say anything. It's obvious that they're guilty. The white sugar might have been obtained from some improper place. It's from our boss. Then tell me, who is your boss and where is he now?" Second Master Duan mocked smugly. "Here, I'm their boss." A cold voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Everyone turned around and saw a person walking in with large strides. His cold gaze landed on Second Master Duan. Second Master Duan shuddered inexplicably. Looking at the other party, it was as if he had seen Duan Qian. A chill ran down his spine. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1251. Young Master Do's question is very strange, Shao. Qingyuan saw that the three members of the Yu family were a little anxious, so he walked out. As soon as he stood up, not only the people in the shop, but also the people outside looked at him. Shao Qingyuan stood in front of young Master Do and said, "I'm the owner of this shop. If there's anything, you can ask me." Young Master Do was stunned. He carefully sized up Shao Qingyuan for a while, and a trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. Why did it feel like he had seen the person in front of him somewhere before? On the other hand, the three of them were stunned. Who was this person? Why did he say that he was their boss? The three members of the Yu family had never seen Shao Qingyuan before. Last time, Gu Yundong and Tong Shuitao had come. Fortunately, Eugene had been a shopkeeper for more than a year and quickly calmed down. Although he didn't know who Shao Qingyuan was, it didn't stop him from hearing what this stranger had to say first. How is that possible? You're their boss? Second Master Duan suddenly shouted. Young Master Do suddenly reacted. He composed himself and glanced at Shao Qingyuan, then at the three members of the Yu family. Is he really your boss? Eugene's gaze landed on Shao Qingyuan. The latter said, "I'm Gu Yundong's husband." The Yu family's eyes widened. Uncle Yu rushed in front of him. You know about the Gu girl? Is she here? She's here, but she has something on for the time being. She should be here in a while. Let me take care of it here first. That's great, that's great. It's good that the Gu girl is here. Uncle Yu was extremely excited. His originally uneasy mood instantly became real. That girl was very capable. With her around, nothing would happen. Although Eugene and Yu Yanghong were also excited, they restrained themselves at least. Eugene was much more cautious and asked, "You said that you're Sister Gu's husband. May I know your surname?" "Shao." Eugene instantly heaved a sigh of relief. That's right. Previously, when Sister Gu sent someone to deliver the white sugar, she had written a letter to tell him that she was about to get married. Her husband was called Shao Qingyuan. It seemed that he was the right person. The three of them forgot that young Master Do was beside them. They were carefully sizing up Shao Qingyuan. Yes, he was tall and straight. He had a dignified appearance, was handsome and unrestrained, and had an oppressive aura. One look, and one could tell that he was an indomitable man. He was indeed a match made in heaven with Yundong. When Second Master Duan saw that he and young Master Do had been completely ignored, he immediately could not take it anymore. What boss? Why do I feel like they don't know this person at all? Young Master Do, this person must be an accomplice. He must be. Shao Qingyuan finally turned around and glanced at him. Second Master Duan shivered again and silently hid behind young Master Do. However, young Master Do seemed to have a good temper and asked again, "Are you really the boss of this shop?" "I am." "In that case, did you get someone to bring this white sugar? Where did you bring it from? Is it a lot?" Shao Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. Young Master Do's question was a little strange. The white sugar was transported from the Shuanha Prefecture. "Young Master Do, do you want to buy it? If the price is suitable, I can give you some." Young Master Do's eyes lit up. "Really?" After a pause, he frowned. "Shuanha Prefecture? Shuanha Prefecture. Fengkai County. Fengkai County." He suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, "Can we talk in private?" "Of course. Please come in." As the two of them spoke, they walked towards the backyard. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1252. Kicked out by Shao Qingyuan's second Master Duan was stunned when he saw how harmonious the two of them were. No, that's not it. Things shouldn't be like this. What's wrong with young Master Do? Why does he seem to be in cahoots with this person? Seeing that the two of them were about to leave, Second Master Duan hurriedly took a step forward. Wait a moment." Shao Qingyuan looked up and glanced at him. Second Master Duan did not dare to meet his eyes and hurriedly said to young Master Do, "The matter here hasn't been resolved yet. Young Master Do, don't fall for their trap. If you follow them, they might do something to you. They're just a black shop." Shao Qingyuan narrowed his eyes and reached out to pull Second Master Duan over. "You're saying that our shop is a black shop? Where's the evidence?" Second Master Duan's collar was held by him, and his neck was strangling. He could only point at those things with a trembling finger and say, "Expensive, expensive. You're saying that the things in our shop are expensive." Shao Qingyuan let go and sneered. "How are they expensive?" Second Master Duan immediately retreated and instantly stood behind young Master Do. Only then did he have the confidence to say, "Look at those pots and pans. Every one of them is already 2 to 3 copper coins more expensive than those in the other shops. And those tea leaves and wine are even more expensive by more than 1 tael. Oh right, that wicker basket is also dozens of copper coins more expensive than other grocery stores." Shao Qingyuan sneered. "Our so-called black shop is only a little more expensive than others? Do you have a misunderstanding about shady shops? The things in our shop are expensive. Do we force customers to buy them? Do we force them to fork out money, or are the customers not allowed to leave after entering the shop?" According to Second Master Duan's logic, the good things in the Duan family were all ridiculously expensive. Were they all illegal shops? Second Master Duan choked. Then you have dealings with Wu Tongfeng. What dealings? Just because Wu Tongfeng stepped into our shop, the young master of the general's residence also came in today. Doesn't it mean that the general's residence is our shop's backer? I didn't say that. Shao Qingyuan said, "Huh? You just what?" I think you're here to cause trouble. Get lost." Second Master Duan hurriedly looked at young Master Do, who pondered for a moment before nodding and patting Second Master Duan's shoulder. He said, "These reasons are indeed untenable. I don't think there's anything wrong with this provision store. It shouldn't be a scam, and there's nothing wrong with it. All right, I still have something on. You can go back first." As he spoke, he looked at Shao Qingyuan. "Let's go." Shao Qingyuan nodded, and young Master Do strode towards the backyard. Second Master Duan panicked and wanted to stop him, but Shao Qingyuan narrowed his eyes and suddenly stretched out his leg to kick him out of the door. The entire place was as quiet as a chicken. They did not know if young Master Do had not heard it. In any case, he did not stop and had already walked to the backyard. Second Master Duan fell out. If not for the fact that many people were watching the commotion outside the door and caught him, his bones would have broken. However, Shao Qingyuan took a few steps forward and approached him. "Don't stretch your hand too far. Do you think you can scheme against this shop? If there's a next time, don't even think about getting up again." As he spoke, he raised his head and looked at the faces of the onlookers outside. Finally, he paused on the faces of the woman and the middle-aged man. He snorted and turned to leave. Everyone present was so frightened by this change that they stood rooted to the ground. No one dared to move. Only when Shao Qingyuan's back was completely gone in the backyard did everyone heave a sigh of relief and begin to discuss softly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1253. Thrown out by Yundong against Second Master Duan finally got up with much difficulty. His nose was about to turn crooked from anger, and his expression was extremely ugly. He pushed away a few people who were supporting him and staggered back inside. Eugene also reacted from the shock of Shao Qingyuan's attack. He hurriedly stood in front of Second Master Duan and sneered. "Why, you still dare to come in? Aren't you afraid that our boss will give you another kick?" Second Master Duan flinched and took a small step back while holding his stomach that was spasming in pain. However, he was unwilling to accept this. He, the dignified second master of the Duan family, had never suffered such a great humiliation. This lousy owner of some grocery store actually dared to be so ruthless. This time, the entire Wanqing Prefecture knew that he had lost face. He wanted to take revenge and seek justice from young Master Do. Young Master Do definitely did not hear it just now. Otherwise, he would definitely have gotten someone to arrest this lousy boss. When Yundong and Shao arrived, they happened to see Second Master Duan and Eugene confronting each other. She didn't see Shao Qingyuan. Yundong found it strange and strode in along the path that Shao had created. "Grandpa Yu, Uncle Yu, where's Big Brother Shao?" The 3 members of the Yu family and eldest brother Zhang suddenly heard a familiar voice and immediately turned around. When they saw Yundong, Joy flashed across their faces. "Goo girl, is it really you? You're back. That's great, that's great." Grandpa Yu was the most excited. He ran to Gu Yundong and sized her up for a while. When he saw that she had a married woman's hairstyle, he immediately smiled. "I heard that you're already married. Congratulations. I just saw your husband. He's quite good looking." "Is that so?" Gu Yundong saw how happy they were and thought that they were fine. "I haven't seen you for a long time. You look more energetic and younger." "Ha." Grandpa Yu was overjoyed. "It's all thanks to you. If you hadn't taken care of us and handed the store to us to manage, our lives wouldn't have gotten better. I have something to do every day. Wouldn't I be even more energetic? By the way, when did you come to Wanqing residence?" Seeing that he was happy, Eugene quickly reminded him. "Grandpa, Sister Gu must be worried about her husband. Let's talk about it later. Let her go find him first." Grandpa Yu patted his head. Yes. Look, I'm confused. Brother Shao is in the backyard, talking to young Master Do." "Talking to young Master Do?" Gu Yundong was surprised and walked in. When she passed by Second Master Duan, she was stunned for a moment. She frowned and asked, This is the second master of the Duan family." Gu Yundong was enlightened. "So you're the one who came to cause trouble for our provision store." She turned around and instructed Shao Wen. "This kind of person standing here is simply an eyesore. Throw him out." Second Master Duan widened his eyes in shock. "You dare?" He had just been kicked out and crawled back. Where did this wild girl come from? How dare she ask someone to throw him out? Do you think I dare? Attack. Yes. Shao did not say anything else, and Eugene rushed over to help. The two of them lifted the struggling Second Master Duan and threw him out the door. The scene fell silent again. Gu Yundong could not wait to run into the backyard. Just as she reached the door of the reception hall, an unfamiliar voice suddenly came from inside. "So it's you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1254. Old Acquaintance Gu Yundong was stunned. Why was this voice so agitated? Without thinking, she pushed open the door of the hall and saw a man in luxurious clothes grab Shao Qingyuan's hand. Gu Yundong was speechless. What was going on? The two people in the room turned to look at her at the same time. Shao Qingyuan suddenly pulled his hand out. Young Master Do also realized what was going on and immediately coughed awkwardly. Gu Yundong's gaze landed on him. As she sized him up, she walked to Shao Qingyuan's side and asked softly, "What happened?" Shao Qingyuan took her hand and introduced, "This is my wife, Gu Yundong. We just got married at the end of August. So it's sister-in-law. My apologies." Young Master Do immediately cupped his hands towards her with a very kind attitude. Gu Yundong nodded slightly, but the confusion in her eyes became even more obvious. Only then did Shao Qingyuan say in a low voice, "This is the young master of Wanqing Prefecture's General Do Fukong." Gu Yundong asked, "You know each other? Do you remember what I told you? When I was 8 years old, I was sold to human traffickers by Boss Li. Later, I met a child who was also trafficked. The two of us escaped together. Do Fukong was the other kid." Gu Yundong widened her eyes in shock. "No way, what a coincidence." Do Fukong laughed heartily. That's right. Even when I think about it now, I still feel that it was very dangerous. If it wasn't for Brother Shao, I'm afraid that I wouldn't even know where I would be suffering now. I might even have lost my life. So many years have passed, I didn't expect to see you again. No wonder I felt that you looked very familiar when I saw you just now, but I couldn't remember where I'd seen you. If you hadn't mentioned your name just now, I'm afraid we would have missed each other again." Shao Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. "I didn't know your real name was Do Fukong." Young Master Do coughed lightly and said with some embarrassment, "At that time, our family had many enemies and it was not appropriate for us to use our real names when we were wandering outside. That was why I was unable to tell you the truth. Please forgive us." "Understood." Back then, when Shao Qingyuan was 8 years old, Do Fukong was actually a year older than him. The two of them had grown up, so when they met just now, they felt a sense of familiarity. However, Shao Qingyuan really didn't remember anyone with the surname Do. On the other hand, when Do Fukong heard Shao Qingyuan's name, he quickly remembered. After checking, he realized that they were old acquaintances. Yundong was stunned. I didn't expect you to have such a relationship. Isn't that so? Dou Fukong was very happy. The Dou family could be considered as having a military background. However, in Dou Fukang's generation, an unconventional person like him had appeared. He liked to study literature and not martial arts. Fortunately, he had an elder brother who was outstanding in martial arts, so the Dou family did not force him. They thought that it was good to have a scholar in the family, so that they would not be called boors when they went out. Unexpectedly, when Dou Fukong was 9 years old, he suddenly encountered a disaster and was kidnapped. He had talent and brains, but his martial strength could not keep up. Even if he had countless plans in his mind, he would ultimately lose to his body that was too weak. Later on, he met Qingyuan. Qingyuan had been running up and down the mountain since he was young. It was not a problem for him to fight and escape. Although he was thin, his body was very strong. The two of them worked together to make up for each other's weaknesses and successfully escape from the hands of those human traffickers. Moreover, they were lucky. As soon as they escaped, they obtained the help of a benefactor, and those human traffickers were caught in one fell swoop. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1255. What happened back then at this point? Dou Fukong suddenly sighed. Recently, I found out that it's not that we were lucky enough to obtain the help of a benefactor. It's indeed because someone secretly helped us escape so smoothly. Qingyuan was stunned. What do you mean? Speaking of their shared experience, Dou Fukong did not hide it. Back then, I was captured in Wanqing Prefecture and sent all the way to Qingyuan Prefecture before meeting you. Actually, when I was in Wanqing Prefecture, there was a gap in the house where I was locked up. When I woke up, I saw a young lady outside through the gap. At that time, I asked her for help and wanted to ask her to help find someone to save me. When the time came, I would reward him with a huge sum of money. Unfortunately, the little girl was too young and looked to be less than 5 years old. She looked confused, as if she did not understand what he had said at all. Moreover, the human trafficker quickly entered the room. Dou Fukong was afraid that the human trafficker would find out that there was a little girl outside and implicate her. So he immediately stopped talking and closed his eyes to pretend to faint. When he looked out again, the little girl was gone. Dou Fukong was in despair. He did not place his hopes on this young lady at all. Later on, he searched for a way to escape along the way, but he could not find one. When he arrived at Qingyuan Prefecture and met Qingyuan, the two of them finally found an opportunity to strike. All these years, Dou Fukong had always thought that they were lucky. Even the heavens were helping them escape. It was not until a while ago that his father told him that the reason why they could coincidentally encounter the officers back then was because someone had secretly helped them. The person who helped them was the little girl's father. The young lady indeed did not understand what Dou Fukong had said because Dou Fukang's words were too complicated. At that time, he was worried that something would happen to the young lady. So he said a few more words and asked her to leave quietly and find a trusted family member to help. He did not want everyone to know. He also told the young lady that this human trafficker was ferocious and it was best to act secretly. Otherwise, they might directly attack the child. Therefore, the young lady was at a loss after hearing this. However, after she returned, she still tried her best to replicate Dou Fukang's words. Her parents understood on the spot, but by the time they ran to the house where Dou Fukong was locked up, it was already empty. However, there were still some traces left at the scene. The young lad's parents immediately secretly reported it to the officials, who followed this line all the way to Qingyuan Prefecture. Coincidentally, they encountered Qingyuan and Dou Fukong escaping. At that time, they caught the human traffickers at lightning speed. General Dou knew about this, but the little girl's parents knew that the human traffickers were ferocious and were worried that they would be implicated, so they were unwilling to make it public. Therefore, General Dou only gave them a thank-you gift and did not tell anyone else about this. If not for the fact that General Dou was going to be transferred to Wanqing Prefecture as a general recently, and that Dou Fukong was also coming over to train, Dou Fukong might not have known about these past events. The two of them talked about Wanqing Prefecture, and Dou Fukong mentioned what happened here back then. General Dou felt that after so many years, the matter back then was not that serious. Since he had returned to Wanqing Prefecture as a general, it was only right for him to visit his benefactor and see if he needed anything. Yundong and Qingyuan sighed slowly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1256. Second Master Duan is his benefactor? Who would have thought that there would be so many twists and turns in what happened back then? Wait, benefactor? Yundong's eyelids twitched. When she thought of the stories that the Duan family and the Dou family had to tell, a bad feeling welled up in her heart. Shao Qingyuan also thought of it. He frowned slightly. Don't tell me the benefactor you're talking about is Second Master Duan. Otherwise, why would young Master Dou treat Second Master Duan so well? Dou Fukong nodded. Yes, that young lady back then was Second Master Duan's daughter. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan were speechless. Damn it. In that case, General Dou would definitely protect Second Master Duan. After all, the man was his benefactor. He would not bite the hand that fed him, right? When Dou Fukong saw the strange expressions on the two of them, he thought for a moment and said in a low voice, I heard that you have a good relationship with the eldest young master of the Duan family. The eldest young master of the Duan family has always taken care of this provision store, right? So, you don't want Second Master Duan to be the master of the Duan family? Seeing that he was being honest, Yundong did not hide it anymore. Indeed. Moreover, young Master Dou should know that Duan Qian was chosen by the higher-ups after the Xian family was removed. Yundong pointed upwards. She believed that since General Dou had been trusted by the emperor and sent to Wanqing Prefecture, he would definitely know something. Sure enough, Dou Fukong fell silent. He sat back in his chair and tapped his fingers lightly on the table. After a long time, he looked up at the couple opposite him. After a while, he looked up and fixed his gaze on Yundong. Then he slammed the table. I remember now, Yundong, when the Qian residence was confiscated, yes. Dou Fukong felt that this name was also familiar. There was some news that others did not know except his father. For example, the major case of the Qian Prefecture in the Wanqing Prefecture more than a year ago. Although the emperor had sent someone to take over, since his father was to take over the Wanqing Prefecture, there were naturally some things that had to be investigated, especially regarding the major case of the Qian Prefecture. Coincidentally, his father knew Lord Mo, who was in charge of this matter at that time, and specially heard some news from him. Although Lord Mo had briefly mentioned Yundong, his father had remembered this name because of his concern for Wanqing Prefecture. Dou Fukong was still wondering why this young lady knew so much about the Xian residence. So that was how it was. Dou Fukong laughed and shook his head. When he looked at the couple again, his gaze became different. All right, since that's the case, I'll tell you the truth. Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other and sat opposite him. Dou Fukong said, although Second Master Duan is my benefactor, this person is indeed not very capable in business. It's fine if he's running a small business, but if he takes over a family like the Duan family, I'm afraid it won't be long before they fall. Young Master Dou understands him very well. Dou Fukong waved his hand. Qingyuan and I are brothers. We experienced life and death together back then. If sister-in-law doesn't mind, you can call me Big Brother Dou, so that we won't be too distant. As soon as he finished speaking, Shao Qingyuan said, it's good to call you young Master Dou. Dou Fukong narrowed his eyes. Why did he feel that there was jealousy in his words? Oh, right. Yundong seemed to be addressing him as Brother Shao. He didn't expect Shao Qingyuan to become so petty after so many years. He even cared about how she addressed him. Forget it. Young Master Dou it is. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1257. The Dou family's plan. Dou Fukong sighed and continued. Although Second Master Duan is not suitable to take over the family, Duan Qian's whereabouts are unknown now. There's no one to protect the Duan family, so it's indeed not suitable. You're backing Second Master Duan so that the Duan family won't be in chaos, and those who have designs on the Duan family will think twice. Shao Qingyuan asked. Do Fukong nodded. That's right. Once the Duan family is in chaos, all the merchants in Wanqing Prefecture will be in chaos. If the Wanqing Prefecture's economy is in turmoil, it won't be beneficial to anyone. Therefore, the most important thing now is to stabilize the Duan family. Even if we help Second Master Duan rise to the top, with our general residents supporting him, no one can mess up the Duan family. This was the first reaction the Do family father and son had after meeting Second Master Duan. Do Fukong was not a fool. Could he not see that Second Master Duan could not bear the heavy responsibility in the business world? But what could he do? He had to support someone. Second Master Duan was a member of the Duan family, so it was justifiable. He also had some power in his hands. With the Do family around, the situation would not be too chaotic. However, someone from the Duan family has also gone to the Qingyuan Prefecture to look for Duan Qian. My father has also secretly sent people to investigate his whereabouts. I hope he's still alive. If he did not finish his sentence, but Yundong could guess. If Duan Qian was gone, General Do and the others would have to implement other plans. However, the Do family wanted to be Second Master Duan's backer. As for Duan Wan, this matter was troublesome. It seemed that the source of everything was with Duan Qian. Hopefully, they could find him as soon as possible. Seeing that they understood, Do Fukong heaved a sigh of relief and said, "But don't worry. He'll go back and explain it to Second Master Duan and ask him not to have any designs on your provision store. Just do your business as usual. I guarantee that no one will find trouble with you." Even if someone was looking for trouble, it would probably not be good for them. Shao Qingyuan nodded. Thank you. Yundong suddenly thought of something. Then the rumors that you're going to marry Second Master Duan. Cough, cough. Do Fukong coughed and hurriedly waved his hand. It's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. Yundong looked at him suspiciously. Why did she feel that it was not a misunderstanding? However, Do Fukong had already lowered his head. In fact, his father had had such thoughts in the beginning. However, after interacting with the Duan father and daughter, he dispelled this thought. Unexpectedly, although Second Master Duan was not very good at business, he was very sensitive in this aspect. Duan Fukang's father had only probed a little, but he immediately became interested and directly treated Do Fukong as his son-in-law. Do Fukong had a headache. He had already made it very clear, but Second Master Duan started to play dumb and pretended not to understand. He was also very helpless, especially when he saw the two people in front of him looking at him as if they had seen through him. He wanted to wail even more and quickly changed the topic. It's rare to meet Shao Qingyuan. Since we're free, why don't we find a place to drink and catch up? No need. I'm not free. I want to accompany my wife. I don't drink. Alcohol is too smelly for my wife. Do Fukong, are you trying to show off that you have a wife? In the past, he also had one. You're going to lose all your friends if you do that. Yundong was overjoyed. She nudged Shao Qingyuan. It's fine as long as you don't drink. It doesn't matter if you catch up with young Master Do. We should celebrate your reunion. Shao Qingyuan frowned. No, he didn't want to. It was less meaningful to catch up with Do Fukong than to be with his wife. Besides, he already knew what he wanted to know. The rest didn't matter. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1258. Catching up. Seeing his unwilling expression, Do Fukong waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. Let's talk in the future. Second Master Duan is still waiting for me outside. He'll leave first. He stood up. He was only changing the topic just now. Now is not the time to reminisce. However, he still gave Shao Qingyuan a token. Take this jade pendant. If there's anything, come to the Do residence to look for me. If I want to look for you, you'll just come to this provision store, right? Yeah. When Do Fukong saw that he had put away his things, he walked out. Then I'm leaving. When you have time, remember to look for me. Goodbye. Do Fukong left. However, when he walked out of the provision store, Second Master Duan was already gone. Only after asking the onlookers did he know the cause and effect. The corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. He knew that Qingyuan had kicked Second Master Duan, but he did not expect Yundong to be so ruthless. She got someone to throw him out the moment she arrived. He was even injured and carried to the medical center. Do Fukong felt a headache coming on. After a moment of silence, he walked towards the medical center. It was only when he arrived at the medical center that he suddenly remembered. Had he forgotten something? What was his purpose when he went to the backyard with Qingyuan? Do Fukong didn't think of it for a moment, and Qingyuan had even forgotten about it. After they left, he and Yundong walked out of the backyard and came to the provision store in front. The three members of the Yu family were very happy to see them. It was just an imagination just now. Now that they saw the two of them walking out together, they thought that the couple was really a match made in heaven. Yundong introduced them with a smile. Qingyuan nodded slightly. It's all thanks to you that Yundong and the others were able to escape the calamity in Qingyuan Prefecture in time. Uncle Yu waved his hand. Don't say that. I just reminded her. Yundong is really capable. Besides, compared to her help to me, what I did was nothing. Qingyuan and Uncle Yu were actually quite good at talking. Seeing this, Eugene took the account book from the shop and handed it to Yundong. Sister Gu, how about you take a look at the account book first? You don't know how good our grocery store's business is. Yundong took the account book and closed it after a few simple glances. Eugene was puzzled. Yundong said, they'll bring the account book back to read. Anyway, there's no hurry. As they were talking, Yonghong came over and said, I'm going to buy groceries and cook a good meal. Yunong, where are you staying now? Do you want to stay in the backyard of this shop? As soon as she saw Yonghong, Yundong thought of the woman from before and wanted to laugh. Yonghong looked puzzled. What's wrong? Actually, my culinary skills are very good. I've been responsible for all the food at home for the past year. The market isn't far. We'll be back soon. Yundong quickly shook her head and refused. Let's not eat for now. Shui Tao is still waiting at the inn. If we don't go back after so long, she might be anxious. We still have something to do, so we'll leave first. We'll come back for dinner another day. Why are you in such a hurry? Yonghong frowned. We haven't even caught up. Yundong nodded. There's indeed something urgent. Anyway, we'll be staying in Wanqing Prefecture for the next few days. We'll have a chance to meet. Before we came, my father asked me to say hello to you. At this point, the three members of the Yu family couldn't keep them anymore. Qingyuan, Yundong, and Shao quickly left the provision store. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1259. A thought, however, not long after, they realized that someone was following them. Yundong turned her body slightly, and the figure behind her immediately hid in the alley. However, that glimpse just now was enough for her to see clearly. Wasn't this the woman who coveted Uncle Yu? Did she finally know that the grocery store had another owner and wanted to investigate? Qingyuan gave Shao a look. Shao nodded and turned to walk to the back. The woman thought that she had hidden herself very well. Unexpectedly, when she wanted to poke her head out again, she suddenly saw Xiao's expressionless face. She instantly took 2 steps back and said with a dry smile, You're in my way. Shao had a wooden board in his hand at some point, and he bent it forcefully in front of the woman. With a bang, the wooden board was split in half. The woman's heart skipped a beat, and her face turned pale. Facing Shao, she didn't have the courage and shrewishness when she faced Yonghong. She could only swallow her saliva with all her might. Xiao's cold voice sounded. If you follow us again, you could try to see if your bones are as easy to break as this wooden board. The woman's face was filled with fear. She suddenly turned around and ran. Xiao stood on the spot until she ran far away. Then, he sneered and turned to follow Qingyuan. However, after today's commotion, Second Master Duan had probably set his sights on them. Although Do Fukong said that he would be there, Second Master Duan would definitely secretly investigate their background with his petty appearance. Yundong and Duan were not afraid of him investigating, but they had to be careful when Duan was with them. It seemed that the three of them had better change to another inn after returning, leaving only Tong Shuidao to take care of Duan. Aren't you going to tell Do Fukong about Duan? Shao Qingyuan shook his head. No matter what the reason is, the Do family is on Second Master Duan's side now. The fewer people know about Duan's whereabouts, the better. Moreover, although I cooperated with Do Fukong when I was young, we haven't seen each other for many years, so we don't know his character. Yundong thought about it and nodded, but a thought kept lingering in her mind. At this moment, she couldn't help but say, "Do you think the little girl who reported to Do Fukong back then is really Second Master Duan's daughter? Could it be Duan? Think about it. Previously, we were wondering why Second Aunt Duan chose to deal with Duan at this juncture or marry her off to the old man. Wouldn't it make sense if she were connected to the Do family? What if Duan was the one who saved you too, and Second Master Duan deliberately let his daughter impersonate her to deceive others?" Shao Qingyuan lowered his eyes. "What you said makes sense, but there's one thing that doesn't make sense. General Do is such a meticulous person. It's unlikely that he would mistake the person he owes a favor to. Moreover, according to Do Fukong, his father personally thanked his benefactor back then. In other words, he personally met Second Master Duan. This seemed to make sense." Yundong sighed. Shao Qingyuan rubbed her head. "Don't think too much. Why don't we go back and ask Duan? Perhaps she still remembers." "Hopefully. Well, let's go back and find Duan first. Before I came out just now, she said that her two maids were also in trouble. I wonder if she and shopkeeper Luo have figured out a way to save them." The few of them quickened their pace and soon arrived at the inn. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1260. Staying separately, Tong Shuitao, who was in the inn, had been waiting anxiously. If not for the fact that she was clenching her fist tightly, she would have rushed into the shop to see what was going on. Therefore, she didn't notice that Duan, who was sitting behind her, was too quiet. When Yundong and Duan returned, Duan suddenly came back to her senses and asked worriedly, "You're back. How is it? What happened in the shop?" Yundong did not hide it from her and told her about Second Master Duan's plans for the provision store. Duan's entire body shook. "You're saying that not only did my second uncle want to take over the Shu family, but he also brought young Master Do to your provision store and wanted to blame the provision store for theft." "That's roughly the case. However, you don't have to worry too much. Your second uncle was thrown out by us, and young Master Do didn't say anything." Thrown out? Duan looked at her in shock, and her mind went blank for a moment. She couldn't imagine her second uncle being thrown out in front of so many people. Yundong nodded. "It's just that your second uncle probably holds a grudge. After what happened today, he might already be secretly trying to take revenge on us. Therefore, it's easier for you to be exposed if you stay with us now. Brother Shao and I discussed it. We'll find another inn to stay in. You and Shuitao can continue to stay here." Yundong raised her hand to stop her. "If your second uncle finds out that we're related, things might become even more complicated. It's better for everyone if we live separately." Duan did not say anything else. Okay. On the other hand, Tong Shuitao, who was at the side, had a disappointed expression. She wanted to follow young Miss even more. With her personality, how could she be suitable to guard someone in the inn? However, this was young Miss' decision. Although Tong Shuitao was reluctant, she still nodded and agreed. Only then did Yundong talk about other things. "Duan, I heard that when your cousin, or your second uncle's daughter, was young, she met a group of human traffickers. A child even asked her for help. Then, your second uncle helped to save those children. Is that true?" Duan was stunned. She frowned and thought for a long time before shaking her head. "I don't really remember." Yundong asked, "What about you? Have you ever met a child who asked you for help?" Duan still shook her head. "I don't remember." Yundong sighed. All right. The last bit of hope in her heart had dissipated. She stopped harping on this matter and started to ask about the progress of her discussion with shopkeeper Luo. Duan pursed her lips. Uncle Luo told me not to show my face for the time being. He will think of a way to save Jilan and Huilan. How is he going to save them? I remember you saying before that Jilan and Huilan were both injured. Duan shook her head. I don't know either. Uncle Luo only asked me to wait in the inn. Seeing Gu Yundong's worried look, she looked up and smiled. You don't have to worry. Since Uncle Luo said so, he must have a way. He has a lot of connections in the residence. Don't worry. Since she had said so, Gu Yundong did not raise any objections. If shopkeeper Luo had any plans, she would ruin things if she interfered rashly. Seeing that it was getting late, Gu Yundong packed her things and said to the two of them, "We'll go to Yuelian first. If you need anything, look for us there." Yuelian was the inn where Gu Yundong stayed when she came last time. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1261. Miss Duan is missing after that. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan left with Xiaowen. Yuelian was a long distance away. She had not been here for more than a year, but there was not much change here. As soon as she entered and raised her head, the waiter's eyes lit up and he ran over quickly. Miss Gu Yundong turned her head and smiled. You still remember me? Of course I remember. Miss Gu is beautiful and kind-hearted. I remember you in my heart after seeing you once. How would I dare to forget? Cough, cough. A light cough suddenly sounded from the side. The waiter was stunned. He turned around and met Shao Qingyuan's dark expression. He was shocked. Only then did he notice Gu Yundong's hairstyle, as well as her posture with the man in front of him. He shuddered on the spot and blurted out, Miss Gu is like a Guanyin bodhisattva. She has a kind face and powerful abilities. I respect and worship her from the bottom of my heart. I don't dare to neglect her at all. This waiter was still so eloquent and full of the desire to live. Gu Yundong could not help but laugh. She remembered that when he left this inn, this person had even given him a small jar of pickled vegetables made by his mother. She glanced at Shao Qingyuan from the corner of her eye. Indeed, his expression had softened a lot. The waiter heaved a sigh of relief and asked, Miss Gu, are you staying here? How long will you be staying in Wanqing Prefecture? It shouldn't be long. Get us 2 rooms. All right, please come in. This waiter was indeed very smart. The rooms he had given them were actually the 2 rooms she had stayed in last time. Now that she was standing here again, she actually felt that things had changed. Gu Yundong sat on the edge of the bed and said to Shao Qingyuan, when my father was injured, he lived here. There's a medical center next door, and Eldest madam, you was especially good there. By the way, he liked the bottle of internal injury medicine you made very much. Shao Qingyuan sat down and hugged her. He said in a low voice, then he'll accompany you another day and sell him a few more bottles. Okay. Last time, I should have accompanied you to Wanqing House. He kissed her face. You don't have to face such a huge matter alone. Gu Yundong leaned in his arms. I have you in the future. Besides, Shao Qingyuan had to help escort the Tao family's 4 jars of wine to the Qingyuan Prefecture last time. That matter was also very important. Yes, they'll always be there for you from now on. His grip on her shoulders tightened ever so slightly. At this moment, Xiaowen knocked on the door. Shao Qingyuan frowned and let go of the person in his arms. Come in. As soon as Xiaowen entered, he whispered, Young master, there's someone sneaking around outside and staring at us. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan looked at each other. Is it Second Master Duan's men? Most likely. Xiaowen immediately felt an itch in his hand. Do you want me to pull them over and teach them a lesson? There's no need for that. Let them be. Xiaowen nodded and quickly left. The 3 of them temporarily ignored the people sent by Second Master Duan to follow and monitor them. As if they did not notice, they went downstairs to eat and chat as usual. After dinner, they directly rested. The next day, the 3 of them wanted to go to the grocery store to take a look. They had come back in a hurry yesterday and did not have time to talk to Uncle Yu and the others. Unexpectedly, just as they were about to leave, there was an urgent knock on the door. As soon as Gu Yundong opened the door, she saw Tong Shueitao, who was panicked. And Miss Duan is missing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1262. Let's go to the Duan residence. Yundong's expression changed slightly. What did you say? She remembered that second Master Duan's men were still watching outside, and she quickly pulled Tong Shuitao in. After closing the door, she asked with a serious expression, "What exactly happened? Tell me clearly." Tong Shuitao was extremely anxious. Everything was fine when I woke up in the morning. When we were eating, Miss Duan suddenly said that she didn't have a good appetite and wanted to eat the wontons sold by the stall outside the inn. She asked me to help buy them. I went downstairs. When I returned with the wontons, Miss Duan was gone. Yundong frowned. "Have you searched the inn?" "Yes," I asked the waiter. The waiter said that she went out. "Miss, where do you think she would go?" Tong Shuitao blamed herself. Miss had clearly handed such an important matter to her, but she couldn't even do such a small thing well. She couldn't even look after a person. "She must have gone to the Duan residence," Qingyuan said. "Let's go to the Duan residence." Yundong immediately turned and left the room. However, not long after leaving the Uli Inn, Qingyuan suddenly instructed Shao, who was behind him. Shao's eyes lit up, and he quickly turned around to leave. The other three quickly went to the Duan residence. Qingyuan was right. At this moment, Duan was in the Duan residence. She had been very uneasy since she knew that second Uncle Duan went to find trouble with Yundong's provision store. Yundong already had enough matters to deal with, so she could not rely on Yundong to help her. They were not related to each other to begin with. They had already done their best to save her on the way and settle her in the inn, taking care of her food, lodging, and transportation. They had even let her contact shopkeeper Luo. Jilan and Huilan were her maids. She had suffered because of her. She should grow up. Duan knew that although shopkeeper Luo said that he could handle this matter, she also understood that shopkeeper Luo's connections were very limited. He was not the kind of person who was good at socializing. He had already done his best to find out about Jilan and Huilan's situation. It was even more difficult to bring them out. As expected, after Duan left the inn, she went straight to shopkeeper Luo's shop and found that he was being troubled by second Uncle Duan's men. He was so anxious that he couldn't care about anything else. Duan decided to go to the Duan residence herself. Compared to shopkeeper Luo, she was actually the one who was more familiar with the Duan manor. Duan thought about it for the entire night and pondered for a long time before she finally thought of a suitable person. This person was her nanny. Duan's nanny was very loyal to her and doted on her since she was young. However, the Duan family had rules. Usually, when the child was about 10 years old, the nanny would not be allowed to stay by their side. Therefore, when Duan was 10 years old, the nanny left the Duan residence and bought a house in the city to settle down. In the past few years, Duan would visit her occasionally and take some things to show filial piety to the nanny. Nanny had a good sister who was in charge of the kitchen of the Duan mansion. It was not a problem for her to enter and leave the Duan mansion. However, the old woman in charge was not a busybody, so Duan did not ask her for information before. But this time, she had no choice but to ask Nanny for a favor. As expected, the nanny was very happy to see Duan. She pulled her to take a look excitedly and only relaxed when she saw that Duan was safe and sound. After hearing Duan's request, she agreed without hesitation and went straight to the housekeeper to ask her to bring Duan into the Duan manor. After the old woman dressed Duan up, she brought her in safely. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1263. The two meet, however, when Duan approached the house where Jilan and Huilan were locked up. The sound of people searching for intruders suddenly came. Duan's expression changed drastically, and she hurriedly ran away. Fortunately, she was very familiar with the Duan residence and knew where to hide. She quickly shook off the pursuers and hid. Then, she crawled into the fake mountain in the backyard of the second branch. She did not know what went wrong. She thought that she had been very careful along the way and should not have been discovered. She wondered if the old woman in charge regretted helping her and when to tell on her again. However, Duan knew that at this moment, she could only hide quietly and not make a sound, let alone be taken away. Otherwise, second uncle and second aunt would definitely not be negligent this time and would definitely let her and old Master Zhang get married. Fortunately, this courtyard belonged to the second branch. Those people would not come here to search. She was safe for the time being. When the search outside was not so strict, she would go somewhere else. Duan exhaled and sat on the ground, hugging her legs, feeling sad and regretful. As expected, she still couldn't do it. She couldn't even do such a small thing. Not only did she fail to save Zhilan and Huilan, she even lost herself. If Yundong and the rest knew about it, they would probably not be willing to care about her anymore. She missed eldest brother so much. If eldest brother was around, how would second uncle and the others dare to treat her like this? Her parents had already left. She was so afraid that her brother had also left, leaving her alone. She could not protect the family business or the servants around her, or even herself. The more Duan thought about it, the sadder she became. Her tears fell without warning. Just as she was about to wipe her face, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Duan quickly held her breath and did not dare to move. However, the voice outside was getting closer and closer. It was her cousin, Duan. Young Master Do, where did you go? My father said that a thief has entered the residence. Be careful. The thief might harm you. It's better to go to the front hall first. Duan shrank her neck, afraid that her cousin would find her hiding place. Except young Master Do. Duan had just furrowed her brows when someone suddenly came in from outside the rockery. She suddenly widened her eyes. The person who entered was also stunned for a moment. He did not expect there to be a maidservant crying with red eyes. However, Duan's voice soon sounded again. Young Master Do. Do Fukong couldn't care less and quickly went in. He even said to Duan, please move inside. Duan was a little stunned, but she subconsciously moved inside. Fortunately, this rockery was big enough. Do Fukong had shrunk his entire body into it, and there was even a fist's distance between them. Duan did not even dare to make a sound as she tightened her grip on her legs. What's going on? Why is this person in here? Will he turn me in? Wait a minute. Duan called him young Master Do outside. Just now, Duan looked to the side. This person was indeed dressed in luxurious clothes and looked very noble. Could it be that the person in front of him was the young master of General Do's family that everyone had mentioned? Seeing that she was looking at him, Do Fukong hurriedly whispered, Shh, don't make a sound. I won't tell anyone that you're slacking off here. Duan was wearing the clothes of a maidservant and was hiding here alone. Do Fukong naturally thought that she was a maidservant of the Duan family and might have suffered some grievance. Hearing this, Duan secretly heaved a sigh of relief, but she slowly turned her head and buried her face. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1264. Who's with who? Outside, Duan's voice rang a few times before she left. She probably felt that Do Fukong was not here, and she did not think that the son of the dignified general would hide in the rockery, so she went elsewhere to look for him. Hearing the footsteps gradually fade away, Do Fukong heaved a sigh of relief and came out of the rockery. He was about to leave, but Duan was still inside with her head lowered. He paused and asked, Aren't you going out? Duan did not even say a word. She felt that Do Fukong and second uncle were in cahoots. Do Fukong was not in the mood to guess the behavior of a maidservant. He raised his eyebrows and left. He had hidden here to avoid Duan. He did not expect second Master Duan and his wife to be so bold as to deliberately bring him here. Then, they found an excuse to leave and let Duan cultivate their relationship with him. Fortunately, when Do Fukong saw Duan when coming from afar, he immediately fled. Now, he should settle the score with second Master Duan. Did this guy really think that he would not lose his temper just because he was a savior? However, just as Do Fukong was about to walk out of the courtyard, he suddenly saw a few old women rushing past. There were even rustling voices. His ears were sharp, so he could hear very clearly. They were saying, "Eldest Miss had disguised herself as a maidservant and sneaked in. Hurry up and find her and hand her over to second madam." Do Fukong frowned. Eldest Miss? Was it Duan, Qian's sister? Didn't everybody say that she was worried about Duan, Qian's safety, and insisted on going to Qingyuan Prefecture to look for her brother? Why did she have to dress up as a maidservant and sneak in? Maidservant? Do Fukong suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction of the rockery. Wasn't there a maidservant with strange behavior there? Do Fukong immediately turned around and returned to the courtyard before crawling back into the rockery. Duan Wan's expression changed drastically. She originally wanted to wait for him to get further away before she went to another place to hide. She did not expect him to return so quickly. "You are the eldest daughter of the Duan family?" Duan Wan's eyes widened, and she suddenly knocked him to the ground, scrambling to climb over his body. Do Fukong snorted. He touched the back of his head with one hand and grabbed her with the other. "Wait, I won't harm you. Why are you running?" Without a word, Duan Wan bit the back of his hand. Do Fukong gasped. How could this brat have such good teeth? He quickly switched to another hand and restrained her. "Calm down first. I'm not from the Duan mansion. My surname is Do. I know. You're in cahoots with my second uncle. Get lost." Duan Wan gritted her teeth in hatred. She was really unlucky to have been caught by him. Do Fukong was speechless. Who was in cahoots with whom? He quickly realized that there must be some conflict between Duan Wan and second uncle Duan, so he immediately explained, "I'm not in cahoots with anyone. I'm close to second uncle Duan because I'm on good terms with the Duan family. If your brother is still around, I'll also have some contact with him." When Duan Wan heard him mention her brother, she was stunned for a moment and stopped trying to run away. Do Fukong heaved a sigh of relief. "Can you tell me now why you're like this? Didn't second Master Duan say that you were worried about your brother? Didn't he send someone to escort you to Qingyuan Prefecture to look for him?" Bah! Duan Wan was so angry that she spat at him. Second uncle was really shameless. So this was what he said to outsiders. She did not know if Do Fukong was telling the truth, but she directly exposed second uncle Duan's lie. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1265. Gu Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's visit. Do Fukong listened quietly. Neither of them knew that Shao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong had already come looking for them. Second Master Duan was furious because Duan Wan had barged in, but young Master Do was also here at this critical moment. He did not know where young Master Do was or if he would bump into Duan Wan. This made him extremely angry, and he pointed at Nanny Duan Wan and scolded her. "Do you still have a brain? Duan Wan came in, but you didn't tell us in advance. You came over only after she was sent in. What's the use? I'm telling you, if you ruin my plan, they'll take your life." Nanny cowered and explained in a low voice, "I was thinking that once Eldest Miss enters the residence, she won't be able to escape even if she has wings. It's just nice to catch a turtle in a jar." "Shut up. Are you trying to show off now that you know 2 idioms? Catching a turtle in a jar? Where's the turtle?" Second Master Duan was so angry that his hair was about to stand up. Second Aunt Duan quickly comforted him. All right. The most important thing now is to get someone to find her. We can't let that wretched girl Duan Wan and young Master Do run into each other. Duan Wan is so disappointing. How could she let young Master Do escape?" Second Master Duan's forehead throbbed, and he was so angry that he could not speak. At this moment, a servant reported, "Second Master, a man and a woman are outside. They want to see Master." "A man and a woman? Who are they?" Second Master Duan frowned and waved his hand. "I'm not meeting them," the servant said, but they said that if Second Master Duan doesn't see them, they will go to the Do residence to seek General Do's opinion. Second Master Duan was stunned. "Opinion about what?" "I don't know, but the man and woman are very young. The man's surname is Shao, and the woman's surname seems to be Gu." "Shao? Gu?" Second Master Duan suddenly thought of the scene of him being thrown out yesterday, and his expression changed on the spot. It's them. Master, who are they? Second Aunt Duan asked. Second Master Duan's face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth. One adulterous couple. I didn't even settle the score with them, but they came knocking on my door. Let them in. Wait, forget it. Tell them to scram. Tell them that I don't have time now. They'll look for them personally another day. He was already in a terrible fix, so how could he have the time to meet two idle people? Yes. The servant quickly turned around and ran out. However, not long after, he ran back in a hurry, stumbling with a panicked expression. Second Master, they've broken in. What did you say? Second Master Duan was furious and stood up from his chair. What are you doing? Can't you even stop two people with so many people? The servant was about to cry. They're too powerful. We can't stop them at all. Moreover, most of the people in the residence have gone to look for young Master Do and the rest. Second Master Duan was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Call all the guards in the residence over and teach this adulterous couple a lesson. As soon as he finished speaking, a crisp voice came from outside the hall. Then let's see if your guards come faster, or if he'll grind your bones and scatter your ashes first. Second Master Duan's eyes widened in shock as he watched them walk into the central room. Do you know that this is trespassing? I can report it to the authorities. Yundong sneered. Before reporting this to the authorities, Second Master Duan might as well explain this first. As soon as she finished speaking, Shao, who was behind her, suddenly picked up someone and threw him in front of Second Master Duan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1266. Give us an explanation, bang. Everyone in the hall was so shocked that their eyelids twitched. Second Master Duan was stunned for a moment before looking at the person who had been thrown to the ground. That person's face was bruised and swollen, and his hair was in a mess. He was in a very sorry state, but Second Master Duan still recognized him from his slightly swollen face. His expression changed on the spot, and he quickly looked away. Yundong looked at his guilty look and sneered. Second Master Duan, do you want to explain to us why there is such a sneaky person who has been following us and monitoring us since yesterday afternoon? Do you think that we have no power or influence here since we came from outside, and you could deliberately figure out our route and then hard us? You want to silence us? Nonsense. Second Master Duan suddenly raised his head and retorted sternly, I don't know what you're talking about at all. I don't know this person. I haven't even settled the score with you for hurting me yesterday. Today, I don't know where you found such a hooligan to frame me and even trespassed on private property. I think you're the ones who are lawless. So, Second Master Duan doesn't know him. All right, I want stand on ceremony then. Yundong narrowed her eyes and laughed. Second Master Duan's face twitched violently. He saw Shao, Qingyuan, rubbing his wrist and coming forward to pull the person up from the ground. When that person saw him walking over, his face instantly turned pale. He couldn't care less and hurriedly shouted, Second Master, save me. Second Master, save me. They were too ruthless and will kill me. Second Master, on account of my loyalty to you, please save me. Second Master Duan's face was ashen, and he could not speak at all. Shao Qingyuan had already raised his hand. Seeing that there was no hope on Second Master's side, the person could only save himself and hurriedly shouted, I have evidence to prove that Second Master instructed me to follow you. I have evidence. Second Master Duan immediately glared at him fiercely. Shut up. You still want to frame me at a time like this. Then he pointed at Shao Qingyuan and the others and said, I think you're here to cause trouble. Someone, take them down. The Duan family's servants had already called for guards. Without a word, they pounced on Shao Qingyuan and the others. Shao Qingyuan sneered. In the next moment, he suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Second Master Duan's neck. Then let's see who moves faster. Second Master Duan instantly held his breath. You, Second Aunt Duan screamed from the side. What are you trying to do? You have to pay with your life for killing someone. Yundong shook her shoulders and looked at Second Master Duan again. Didn't I say it before? Let's see if your guards came in time, or if we grind your bones and scatter your ashes faster. W, what are you trying to do? Second Master Duan did not dare move. His neck was under Shao Qingyuan's hand, and he could feel the strength clearly. It was as if his neck would break into two if he was not careful. He was clearly in the Duan residence, but he was still threatened and held hostage by a few outsiders. Second Master Duan gritted his teeth in anger. Yundong said, "We don't want to do anything. We just want to settle scores with you. You sent someone to monitor us and harm us. Shouldn't you give us an explanation for this?" "What explanation do you want?" At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1267. Young Master Do is on Shao Qingyuan's side when Second Master Duan saw the person who walked in. His face lit up and he hurriedly shouted, Young Master Do, save me." Do Fukong looked at Second Master Duan with a cold expression. When his gaze shifted to Shao Qingyuan, he was a little surprised. "Shao Qingyuan, why are you here?" Shao Qingyuan was also a little surprised that Do Fukong was present. He was silent for a moment before letting go of Second Master Duan. Second Master Duan's body relaxed, and he hurriedly ran behind Do Fukong. He anxiously complained, "Young Master Do, they trespassed on private property and even wanted to harm me. They are so lawless under General Do's jurisdiction. They should be locked up in jail." As he spoke, he shouted at the people behind him, "Arrest them! Arrest them for me!" Just as the Duan Manor's guards were about to step forward, Do Fukong suddenly raised his hand. "Wait, young Master Do." Second Master Duan was stunned. Do Fukong did not look at him. Instead, he asked Shao Qingyuan, "What exactly is going on?" Shao Qingyuan said, "He got someone to follow us and harm us, so we came." Do Fukong was speechless. "You came breaking into his house. You're not polite at all. Shouldn't you report this matter to the officials first?" However, Shao Qingyuan's explanation was simple and easy to understand. Do Fukong turned his head and frowned at Second Master Duan. Without waiting for Second Master Duan to explain, he said with a dark expression, "Second Master Duan, what do you mean? I told you yesterday that the provision store is not something you can touch. Shao Qingyuan is my friend. What do you think I'm doing?" "I don't. It seems that Second Master Duan has never taken my words to heart. Since you don't take me seriously, it's better to interact less in the future." Do Fukong sighed, shook his head, and turned to leave. Second Master Duan instantly panicked and hurriedly pulled him back to explain, "No, young Master Do, you've misunderstood. I didn't." He wanted to say that he wasn't the one who sent that person, but when he met Do Fukang's gaze that could see through people's hearts and recalled how serious his words were just now, he instantly didn't dare to lie anymore. He could only admit, "Young Master Do, I did send someone to follow them. But you can't blame me. You know how they treated me yesterday. I just wanted to find out who they were. I promised that I didn't intend to harm them." "Promise? Do you dare swear then?" Do Fukong frowned when he heard that. "No matter what, it's indeed your fault for sending people to follow them. But yesterday would we have thrown you out if you hadn't specially gone to our shop to cause trouble? In the end, you were the one who started the trouble first. You're a liar." Yundong snorted. Second Master Duan was so angry that he almost fell backward. She actually said that he was a troublemaker? He looked at Do Fukong and did not expect him to nod in agreement. What was going on with young Master Do? He seemed to have been standing on that Shao's side all this time. He had said that Shao Qingyuan was his friend, but they clearly didn't know each other when they met yesterday. They had only known each other for a day. Could it be that a friend he had known for a day was more important than his life savior? Second Master Duan felt uncomfortable, but Do Fukong pretended not to see it. He turned around and asked Shao Qingyuan, "Then what do you want Second Master Duan to do to make peace?" Shao Qingyuan and Yundong looked at each other and said, "For your sake, we won't make things difficult for Second Master Duan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1268. Yundong's request second master, Duan, sneered in his heart. You make it sound like you're very aloof. Qingyuan said, actually it's simple. As long as second master Duan apologizes to us, I guarantee that this won't happen again. Moreover, if you set up a banquet at home and treat us to a good meal, our grudge will be over. Dofu Kong, do I have such a big face? The corners of second master Duan's mouth twitched. Treat you to a good meal? Where did this country bumpkin come from? Have you never eaten good food? Did you make such a big scene just to freeload? How is it? This condition isn't too much, is it? Yundong raised his eyebrows and looked at second master Duan. Dofu Kong nodded. Indeed, it's not too much. What do you think, second master Duan? All right, on account of young master Do, I won't hold it against you for trespassing into my house. Second master Duan waved his hand. Tomorrow, I'll set up the best banquet at home and invite you to come and try the most authentic dishes in Wanqing Prefecture. How about that? No. Unexpectedly, Yundong refused immediately. There's no need for tomorrow. Let's do it today, right now. Or is second master Duan going back on his word when young master Do is not around tomorrow? How can I go back on my word? I can also invite young master Do over tomorrow, can I? Yundong sneered. You make it sound so nice. Is young master Do free every day? Dofu Kong am free tomorrow. Qingyuan also nodded. Besides, we have other things to do tomorrow. I think there's no time like the present. Right now, I can have a good chat with young master Do. Dofu Kong narrowed his eyes and looked at the two of them. The two of them wanted to chat and catch up, but they still had to stick to second master Duan's family. That wasn't too good, right? There was something wrong with these two people. Dofu Kong also wanted to know what the two of them were up to. So he agreed with a serious expression. All right, it's almost noon. We'll go back after lunch. How about I try the food in the residence? Second master Duan had originally hoped that Dofu Kong would reject him, but he did not expect him to actually agree. Unfortunately, there was still Duan Wan in his residence whose whereabouts were unknown, but these people could not be chased away. Second master Duan suppressed the anger in his heart and could only turn around and order the servants to prepare the food. In that case, let's have lunch here. Qingyuan and Do Fukong found seats and sat down. They really started chatting. Second master Duan could only bite the bullet and agree. He was straightforward and apologized to Qingyuan first before sitting at the side as if nothing had happened. As a woman, Yundong suddenly became idle. Second master Duan got someone to bring Duan went over to entertain her and chat with her. Unfortunately, the two of them did not have anything in common. After a few words, Yundong stood up in frustration. It's too boring. I don't understand any of the poems and lyrics Miss Duan said. Why don't we do this? Since Miss Duan said that she has raised a few beautiful chrysanthemums, I'm very curious. Coincidentally, my mother likes to plant flowers when she has nothing to do. Miss Duan, if you don't mind, can you bring me to take a look? Duan was speechless. I do mind. Second master Duan also frowned. Yundong was surprised. What's wrong? They can't be seen? Or is Miss Duan lying to me just now? I know. Does Miss Duan think that I'm from the countryside and can be teased at will? Is this the sincerity of your Duan family? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1269. Young Master Do's reminder Yundong looked like she was about to get angry. He instantly attracted everyone's attention in the central room. Qingyuan immediately stood up and asked with a dark expression, "What happened? Who bullied you?" Yundong started to complain angrily. She said with an aggrieved expression, "They look down on me. They think that I'm just a country bumpkin who's not worthy of watching them plant flowers." Qingyuan's gaze immediately landed on Duan Wan, who waved her hand repeatedly. No, I didn't mean that. She didn't say anything at all. Second Master Duan also said, "That's right. How can our winner look down on you?" Would she dare to look down on her? Do Fukong became thoughtful. In fact, when he heard Duan Wan's words, he already knew that Second Master Duan had lied to him. Duan Wan had said that she had been tricked by his second Aunt Duan to escape from the Duan residence. If she had not met benefactors on the way and brought her back, she might have met with misfortune long ago. Duan tried her best to protect the privacy of the benefactors and did not reveal their names and identities. But who was Do Fukong? A rookie like Duan was nothing in front of him. She had already unconsciously revealed some information during the conversation. For example, her benefactors were a couple. Her benefactors had just arrived at Wanqing Prefecture 2 days ago. She did not want to implicate her benefactors again, so she ran back to the Duan residence. If this information was dissected separately, Do Fukong would indeed not associate it with Shao Qingyuan and Yundong. However, if they were combined, it would be very appropriate. Otherwise, how could it be explained that Shao Qingyuan and Yundong happened to appear in the Duan residence and caused such a huge commotion that only Second Master Duan had to treat them to a meal? Yundong even looked like she wanted to take a look around here. Therefore, they were actually here for Duan. Do Fukong originally wanted to bring Duan out, but Duan didn't trust him, so he could only give up. He came to look for Second Master Duan first, but he didn't expect to meet Shao Qingyuan and Yundong. Since they were going to save Duan, there was no reason for him not to help. Therefore, Do Fukong said, "Actually, I also feel that it's really boring for girls while us men are discuss things here. Why don't they go admire the flowers and the lake? If sister-in-law likes flowers so much, Miss Duan, why don't you bring her to take a look? By the way, didn't Second Master Duan say that the scenery in the backyard is good? You even brought me there previously, but I didn't see you return a long time." Hearing this, Second Master Duan immediately felt guilty. He was afraid that Do Fukong would settle scores with him later, so he quickly winked at his daughter. Yes. Winner, you can bring Madame Shao to the backyard to appreciate the flowers. However, don't go far. It's not good to delay for too long. It'll be time to eat later. Got it, father. Duan understood and nodded in agreement. In any case, the backyard of the second branch was very quiet, and there were people watching the courtyard door. Duan would definitely not appear there. Do Fukong waved his hand and said, "The backyard is indeed not bad, especially that rockery. It looks especially good." As he spoke, he winked meaningfully at Yundong at an angle that no one noticed. Yundong's expression turned serious. The rockery in the backyard? It seemed like there was something going on. Yundong snorted and raised her chin at Duan. "Lead the way. But let me make it clear first. I want to see those precious flowers. Don't make it seem like I don't know anything. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1270. The less knowledgeable Yundong Duan, whose back was facing her, could not help but purse her lips. "Do you know anything? How ignorant and embarrassing." Duan secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In front of Do Fukong, she naturally looked gentle and easy to talk to. She turned to Yundong and said with a smile, "Madam Shao, this way please. I will definitely bring you to see the most beautiful chrysanthemums in our residence." Yundong snorted and walked forward arrogantly. Tong Shuitao immediately followed. Duan clenched her fists and exhaled before she quickly followed. The backyard of the Duan family's second branch was a little smaller than the first branches, but with the Duan family's wealth, it was not that small. There were also flowers, water, trees, and pavilions. It was also beautifully tidied. Yundong sized her up as he looked. When she entered the backyard, Do Fukong's words flashed across her mind. The backyard, the rockery? Her gaze swept across a few fake mountains. Duan had already brought her to the greenhouse at the side. There were indeed many flowers cultivated inside. This is the hang white chrysanthemum I told you about. The hang chrysanthemum, how chrysanthemum, chu chrysanthemum, and Huai chrysanthemum are the most famous. They are known as the 4 great chrysanthemums. The hang white chrysanthemum is also known as the 1,000-leaves jade vase. Its petals are as white as jade, and its stamen is as yellow as pure gold. It could be considered my favorite chrysanthemum. After leaving Do Fukong, Duan's expression changed, and her attitude instantly became arrogant. She looked at Gu Yundong with a condescending look. However, Gu Yundong did not look at her and allowed her to be smug. She looked at the flowers in the greenhouse and asked, "Where's the peony? Why don't I see any peony flowers? Your family is so powerful. You must have the best peonies, right?" Duan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Peony flowers blossom in April or May. Where can they be found now? She couldn't help but roll her eyes. This woman was indeed ignorant. She didn't even know the basics. Gu Yundong was enlightened. "That's right. I forgot." Although she said that, she did not look ashamed at all. She looked up and gave Tong Shuitao a look. The latter lowered her head slightly. Seeing that Duan Wen's maidservant had not returned from pouring tea, she slowly retreated while Duan Wen and Gu Yundong were talking. After a while, she disappeared in front of the two of them. Gu Yundong continued to look at the flowers, like a person who knew nothing about flowers. Whenever she saw a pot of beautiful flowers, she would ask. It was probably because such a question hit Duan Wen's spot that she was very proud and felt very superior. It was as if she was a knowledgeable, elegant, and noble lady in front of Gu Yundong. It was just that Gu Yundong kept reaching out to touch the flowers, which made her very dissatisfied. She tried to stop Gu Yundong several times, but the woman did not listen. Duan Wen felt that no matter how rich Gu Yundong was, she could not hide her vulgar aura. Gu Yundong had actually been distracted. After looking at 3 or 4 pots of flowers, Tong Shuitao returned. However, her expression was not very good. She shook her head slightly at Gu Yundong. When Gu Yundong walked over, she whispered, "She's not here. I've searched all the rockeries in the backyard, but I didn't see Miss Duan." "Not at the rockery?" Gu Yundong frowned. It was unlikely that Do Fukong would lie to her. After thinking for a while, she instructed Tong Shuitao, "Go and look around this area, especially the places where people can hide." "Yes." Gu Yundong continued to look at the flowers. After Duan Wen's maidservant brought tea over, she took a sip and sighed. "It's boring to just drink tea. Do you have any pastries?" If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1271. Finding Duan Wen felt that she had never seen such a shameless person. Previously, it was fine if her husband wanted to stay in the Duan mansion to freeload, but now she actually wanted to freeload on pastries? Was she planning to eat everything in the Duan manor? Duan Wen sneered, but Gu Yundong looked innocent. "No." "Then forget it. I think your hospitality is different from what I imagined." "Yes, of course we have them." Duan Wen sneered. She was certain that Gu Yundong was deliberately making things difficult for them. It was obvious that she still hated her father, but she had to pretend to be magnanimous and easily let this matter go in front of Do Fukong. In the end, she started to make things difficult the moment she turned around, right? "You want pastries, right?" Duan Wen turned around and instructed her maidservant, "Go and get a few more pastries, especially the few that I like to eat. Let Madame Shao try them too." The maidservant received her mistress' gaze and understood. She bowed and went down again. "Very good." After a while, Tong Shuitao also took the opportunity to go down. She followed Miss instructions and searched around the area. Unexpectedly, she really found Duan Wen hiding in a small house not far away. It was Duan Wen who saw her first. She then came out of the basket. She froze for a moment. "Why are you here?" "Our young miss and young master are here to save you." Duan Wen instantly felt guilty. She had indeed caused trouble for others. Previously, she had indeed hidden in the rockery. However, after meeting Do Fukong, although they had talked a lot, Duan Wen still did not dare to trust him easily. Therefore, after Do Fukong left, she changed her hiding place. She thought that if Do Fukong betrayed her and told second uncle that she was hiding in the rockery, second uncle would definitely send people to look for her. If they didn't see her in the rockery, they would definitely think that she had escaped somewhere else. Therefore, Duan Wen continued to hide in this backyard. If Tong Shuitao knew what she was thinking, she would probably laugh at her for being naive. However, nothing else was important now. Just get down to business first. My time is limited, so it'll make a long story short. Miss and young master are both stalling for time outside. You know the terrain of the Duan Manor. Do this later. Tong Shueitao explained the plan that Gu Yundong had given her in a low voice. Duan blinked. That's it. Yes, after you're done. Hide at the back door. They'll take you out then. Duan swallowed and nodded after a while. I know. I can definitely do it. Okay, be careful. Also, don't trust anyone along the way, understand? Duan thought of how she was betrayed when she entered the Duan residence, and her expression instantly became much more serious. She hurriedly nodded. Don't worry, I will pay attention. Tong Shueitao gave a few more instructions before leaving worriedly. When she returned to the greenhouse, Duan's maidservant happened to bring over some pastries. Tong Shueitao immediately went forward to help. When she walked to Gu Yundong's side, she nodded slightly. Gu Yundong knew that she had succeeded. As she ate the pastries contentedly, she continued to admire the flowers in the greenhouse. Duan sneered at the side. Just keep eating. You'll die from overeating. Unfortunately, Gu Yundong ate very slowly, as if saying, I'm a lady, so I should eat slowly. When she slowly finished eating 2 pieces, a scream suddenly came from outside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1272. Fire Gu Yundong narrowed her eyes and slowly looked in the direction of the backyard door. Duan, on the other hand, was so shocked that she broke the chrysanthemum in her hand. Her heart immediately ached. She said to the maidservant angrily, Go and see what's going on. Don't they know that there are guests in the residence? Why are they making such a fuss? Yes, Mississippi. The maidservant quickly ran out. Not long after, she ran back with an anxious expression. Miss, bad news. The guest room in the east is on fire. Duan suddenly turned her head. What did you say? It's on fire? She hurriedly ran out of the greenhouse. Gu Yundong and Tong Shueitao looked at each other and quickly left the greenhouse. As soon as she walked out of the backyard, she saw the servants of the Duan residence running east with various fire-extinguishing tools in their hands. Gu Yundong turned her head and looked to the east. As expected, there were flames soaring into the sky and screams were endless. She followed Duan and walked forward. Halfway there, she happened to see Shao, Qingyuan, and the others who were also rushing over. Do Fukong looked meaningfully at Gu Yundong's face. She pretended not to see it and said anxiously, Why would there be a fire for no reason? This is too strange. The people in the residence should be fine, right? I'm not sure yet. Let's go take a look first. Okay. Then, the couple walked to the east guest room hand in hand. Second Master Duan was shouting anxiously, Hurry up and get water. Don't just stand there. The fire is getting bigger and bigger. The servants ran over one after another, carrying water, cotton, and brooms. The scene was very chaotic. Therefore, no one noticed when an outsider like Tong Shueitao disappeared. Do Fukong frowned as he looked at the fire. A moment later, he walked to Second Master Duan's side and asked, Is there anyone in the room? Second Master Duan wanted to say that how would he know if there was anyone? Even if there was, they were only servants in the residence. However, the person opposite him was Do Fukong. He could only suppress the anger in his heart and reply, No, this is a guest room. Usually, only the servants come over to clean up. Today, the servants went to look for her. There shouldn't be anyone inside today. Do Fukong said, We can't continue like this. It's too chaotic. If the fire on this side is extinguished, the other side will immediately catch fire. Give the order to everyone to listen to my instructions so that the guest room next door won't catch fire. All right. Second Master Duan immediately got the servants to listen to Do Fukong's instructions and extinguish the fire in an orderly manner. Do Fukong should be experienced. Seeing that the fire was slowly subsiding, Second Master Duan finally heaved a sigh of relief. After calming down, he immediately realized that this fire had come too strangely. Although the area around the guest room was dry, it was not to the extent of starting a fire for no reason. Someone must have set it off. Duan. It must be Duan. Second Master Duan's pupils constricted. He quickly walked to Second Aunt Duan's side and whispered, "This fire might have been set by Duan Wan. She must have wanted to take this opportunity to leave the Duan residence with her two maidservants. Hurry up and bring people to take a look. Don't let them escape." Second Aunt Duan suddenly came back to her senses. "Okay, I understand. They'll go right away." With that, she left in a hurry with a few old women. Yundong watched them leave and quickly retracted her gaze. She looked at the ruins in front of her and sighed. "I really didn't expect such a thing to happen. Second Master Duan, I deeply sympathize with your encounter. It seems that we won't be able to eat today. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1273. Rescue the corners of Second Master Duan's mouth twitched. "You're still thinking about eating at this juncture?" He smiled insincerely and said, "I didn't treat you well. I won't send you off." Yundong nodded seriously. "Indeed, we weren't treated well." Then, she rolled her eyes and turned to leave with Shao Qingyuan. Second Master Duan was speechless. "Don't let me meet you again." Do Fukong also wanted to leave, but given the situation in front of him, it would be a little suspicious if he left with them. He turned to look at the ruins in front of him and exhaled. Was it done by the eldest daughter of the Duan family? It was indeed Duan Wan who started the fire. It was just that she had listened to Yundong's suggestion. After all, she was the eldest daughter of the Duan family and was very familiar with the structure of the Duan residence. People rarely used the guest rooms here. Even if she set a fire, she would not hurt anyone. As long as the fire was dealt with in time, it would not burn down the surrounding houses. Therefore, after she sneaked here, she even found some tung oil and sprinkled it around before lighting a fire. While everyone was busy putting out the fire, she quickly ran to the house where Zhelan and Huilan were locked up. Originally, there were old maids and guards outside the house, but because of Yundong and Shao Qingyuan's commotion, the guards left. And because of the sound of the fire, one of the two old women also left. Duan Wan hit the other old woman's head with a stick when she wasn't paying attention and knocked her out before she flashed into the house. Zhelan had already fainted from the fever. Huilan was still fine. Although she was also injured, she could still take care of Zhelan. Huilan almost cried when she saw Duan Wan. Then, Duan Wan carefully supported Zhelan and left the house with Huilan to the back door. Halfway through, Tong Shuitao came to pick them up. Duan Wan let out a sigh of relief. At the back door, Duan Wan saw that the two people guarding the door had fainted, so they hurriedly left the Duan mansion. A carriage was parked in an alley not far from the Duan residence. After Tong Shuitao helped them up, she returned to the Duan residence and quietly returned to Yundong's side. Soon after, Yundong and the others bade farewell and walked out of the Duan residence. It was not until they were out of the door that Yundong asked, "Have you brought them out?" "Don't worry, Mississippi, I've brought them all out. They're in the carriage." As Tong Shuitao led them into the alley, she said, "I've also handed Miss Duan the fever medicine you gave me." As they spoke, the group of people had already walked to the front of the carriage. Hearing the commotion, Duan Wan lifted a corner of the curtain and looked out. When she saw that it was Yundong, she was immediately delighted. Yundong. Yundong and Tong Shuitao got into the carriage. Unexpectedly, as soon as they got in, Huilan, who was still awake, kowtowed to her 3 times. "Thank you, Mississippi. Thank you for saving our Mississippi." It seemed that Duan Wan had already told her everything. Yundong waved her hand. "Let's not talk about this for now. You're all injured. It's more important to treat your illnesses first." As they spoke, the carriage began to move. The carriage drove all the way to Yundong's grocery store. Finally, they stopped at the back door of the provision store. Xiaoan got out of the car and knocked. Uncle Yu hurriedly opened the door and was stunned to see them. It wasn't until he saw Tong Shuitao carrying an injured girl down that he suddenly understood and said softly, "Come in first. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1274. Gu Yundong's praise, there were several rooms at the back of the provision store. Uncle Yu brought them to a clean and spacious room and made a bed for Zhilan to lie down. Looking at the two injured ladies, Uncle Yu asked, "Gu girl, do you want me to call a doctor over?" Gu Yundong thought for a moment and said, "Do you know a reliable and tight-lipped female doctor?" Shao Qingyuan was a doctor, but Zhilan and Huilan had been beaten. Their injuries needed to be treated with ointment, so it was naturally not appropriate for Shao Qingyuan to do it. It would be more convenient for a female doctor to do it. Uncle Yu really did not know any female doctor. There were only 3 men in the Yu family. Usually, if there was a headache or fever, they would go to the medical center to see a doctor. They really did not have any contact with female doctors. It was Shao Qingyuan who said, "Huiman Medical Center is not far from here. There should be a female doctor in their clinic." Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. "That's right. How could I have forgotten about the Huiman Medical Center?" The Huiman Medical Center here was open last year, but as a major medical center with a chain across the country, there were usually female doctors in it. Gu Yundong and Huiman Medical Center were old acquaintances. She knew that this clinic had a good reputation and was reliable and trustworthy. Tong Shuitao immediately volunteered. "He'll go fetch one." She immediately ran out of the provision store. Duan turned to look at Zhilan and Huilan and wiped her tears. After a while, she looked up and said to Gu Yundong, "Yundong, thank you so much this time. I didn't want to trouble you, but I didn't expect to implicate you again. I'm sorry, I'm too useless." Gu Yundong did want to scold her. Why couldn't they discuss it together? However, seeing that her head was about to sink into the ground, she would probably become autistic if this continued. Moreover, it seemed that she was really repenting. There was no need to say anything serious. Gu Yundong gave her a sidelong glance. "It's good that you know your mistake. Don't be so impulsive next time. However, the fire you set was not bad. You personally brought your 2 maids out. No matter what, you completed the task alone. It wasn't easy. You have improved." Duan suddenly raised her head, and a trace of joy flashed across her face. Did I really do well?" "Yeah, it's pretty good. Everything was going well." Duan wiped her face. She had been praised many times in the past, but she had never been praised like this. Her entire body felt warm, and her heart felt like it was about to bloom. Gu Yundong actually praised her. Someone as capable as her actually praised her. Duan took a deep breath. She had grown up. Not long after, Tong Shuitao returned with a female doctor. Without a word, the female doctor examined the unconscious Zhilan. Xiaolan's injuries were actually not fatal, but there were several places with open wounds. Second Master Duan wanted to keep them alive to lure Duan out, so he didn't kill them. However, according to Huilan, the 2 of them were not treated after they were injured. Occasionally, there would be some leftovers to fill their stomachs. Fortunately, the weather had turned cold. Otherwise, their injuries would not be easy to treat. Gu Yundong and the others were waiting outside. Uncle Yu and the other 2 also came over. They had seen Duan and knew who she was. However, the 3 of them did not ask further. They turned around and went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. It was only after lunch that the female doctor came out with a tired expression. After instructing her to rest well and prescribe medicine, she left. Gu Yundong was about to enter the room to take a look when Do Fukong came over. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1275. Not the big picture again. As soon as he arrived, Do Fukong asked, "Where's the eldest daughter of the Duan family?" Gu Yundong had already heard from Duan that she had met Do Fukong. Now that she heard him ask, she could not help but look at him sideways. "Why are you so concerned about her?" Do Fukong was speechless. "Because she is the eldest daughter of the Duan family." Gu Yundong looked inside and said, "She's inside. Her 2 maidservants are injured." When Do Fukong heard that, he did not ask further. He came over to bring them piece of news. Second Master Duan is searching the entire city for the arsonist. It said that someone sneaked into the Duan family and stole something. When he was captured by the Duan family, he was indignant, so he set a fire, causing several servants of the Duan family to be injured. He then escaped from the Duan family. Therefore, Second Master Duan reported it to the officials and is looking everywhere for them now. Shao Qingyuan raised his eyebrows. He dares to report it to the officials? He was clearly looking for Duan Wan, but he still dared to make a big deal out of it. But thinking about it, so what if it blew up? As long as he found Duan Wan, he could take her back to the residence. As for how to deal with her after returning to the residence, it was up to the Duan family behind closed doors. As for what Second Master Duan had done to Duan Wan previously, there was no evidence. Even if Duan Wan came out to accuse them, they would be able to find an excuse. There was nothing to be afraid of. Yundong could not help but roll her eyes. Second Master Duan was really angry this time. Do Fukong said, since the eldest daughter of the Duan family is staying here, it shouldn't be a big deal. Your shop, he smiled. The officials seemed to have been taking good care of it. Yundong raised her eyebrows proudly. Of course, such a huge shop would attract a lot of attention. Even with Duan Qian as their backing, merchants could only bow their heads to the government. However, the entire provision store was only managed by the 3 members of the Yu family. They had no power or influence, so they would become a thorn in the side of others. It was only last time when Second Master Duan came to find trouble without knowing what was going on that he brought along General Do's young master, causing the officials to not come. If Second Master Duan found someone to come to her shop this time, she would not be polite. While they were talking, Duan Wan came out of the room. When she saw Do Fukong, she was stunned for a moment. Her expression was no longer as vigilant as before. She nodded slightly. Young Master Do. Do Fukong thought for a moment and said, I want to talk to you alone. Is it convenient? Duan Wan nodded. Sure. Do Fukong and Duan Wan went to the room next door to talk. When the two of them came out again, it was already an hour later. It was unknown what they had talked about for so long. After saying that, Do Fukong left, but Duan Wan was still sitting on the chair in a daze. Yundong stood beside her and asked, What's wrong? Duan Wan suddenly came back to her senses and shook her head with a bitter smile. Nothing. It was just that Do Fukong had analyzed the current situation with her and made her understand that at this moment, not only could she not take revenge on second uncle and second aunt, but she also had to help find those people who were originally loyal to eldest brother and make sure that they temporarily obey second uncle's orders. Duan Wan felt very upset. She was just a young lady who did not know anything about the world. She did not want to care about the big picture at all and did not want to make second uncle and second aunt happy. She could not wait for those managers to find trouble with second uncle. However, the Duan family was her brother's hard work. Those managers could withstand the pressure for a while, but they could not withstand it for a lifetime. If they continued to go against second uncle, the consequences would be that they would all lose their jobs. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible.